Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We're glad you're watching. Thank you so much for making time to join us. This is Sound Candid Talk Open Forum discussion show, the show that gives you an opportunity to air what you feel and think about the latest development on our political front. Well, today marks another day where there are tales and horrors of the abductees that were released, but it only informs us of what we are quickly choosing to forget that may just be walking back into its existence after their extinction. Those of you who've been here and probably are enthusiasts of Kenyan history will not be perturbed by the happenings right now in terms of the abductions of the young people that are deemed to be not so much in support of the current administration. Now, there's a video I ran into today that really touched me by the questions that it raised, and it began to bother me in the sense that we seem to be missing something here. We seem to be not taking serious a particular signal of something that may just escalate and become a norm. The video was done by John Allan Namu. Everybody knows John Allan Namu, the journalist, the investigative journalist. And is a short clip that we'll be sharing later on in the show that raised pertinent questions, especially to the older Kenyans that lived through part of Jomo Kenyatta and then Moi era, and how Moi era got into what it developed into being a terror to the citizen, and all the citizens were kind of inoculated to arrive at a place where they feared the government, they feared the administration, they feared the president, they feared everything about government. It was so bad that the president's name was not pronounced loudly. Everything was spoken through whispers, and everybody was careful not to be noticed by the special branch or whatever group that will pick you up and make you disappear. Now we seem to be on the border of the reintroduction of the same, but it appears the elderly Kenyans are not seeing this. And so as we begin our conversation, we'll be looking at our historical reality, our current situation, and see if we can prevent this or we accept and move on. You know the slogan. Well, as we start the conversation, please be on the forefront to invite somebody. Thank you so much for choosing to be part of this great show, which gathers Kenyans from every walk of life to be able to address issues that are really affecting our country in a way that requires urgent attention. I'm glad that you're watching. Please be on the forefront. Thank you. I can see PS Tuni here. MNA, karibu kila mmoja. Naomba tafadhali tumakinike kukaribishana tunapoanza mdahalo wetu. Naamini kwamba tutakuwa na safari ambayo ni nywee mpaka dakika ya mwisho. Tunaomba tu stima na wale wateja wa kutusumbua na internet leo hawatatusumbua. Tutakuwa na wakati mzuri tunapoangazia masuala haya. Kwa hivyo nakukaribisha mahala popote ulipo, cheza karibu, hakikisha kwamba unaangazia masuala haya kwa wazi. Kisha pia kama unataka kuchangia kwa njia moja au nyingine, naomba tafadhali uwahi kuingia studio. Usingoje wakati tunafunga ndio unakuja kuleta kizaazaa kwamba uingizwe alafu uanze kuongea masafa marefu wakati muda umeyoyoma. Tunakupatia muda mapema tu uwahi, alafu kazungumze kwa uwazi. Tungependa kujifunza, wanasema wale ambao hawatajifunza kutokana na historia yao wamelaaniwa kuirudia. I mean, they are doomed to repeat their history. Is Kenya repeating her history? Is Kenya playing right into the hands of a new dictator in the land? Are Kenyans laying a bed to allow dictatorship to sneak back and the rule of law to be suspended, our constitutional freedoms to be compromised? What is this that we are playing with this resurgent of abductions and all manner of intimidation, all manner of threats, all manner of people speaking without thinking and probably wanting to portray a picture that, it is overdue. We threw away that 2010 constitution and have this country led like it was led under Moi. What do you think? I would love to appreciate each one of you. Even as we engage, I want to hear your opinion on this. And quickly, as I wait for you to get into the studio, let me just play that. Let's get more people to join, please. Let's get more people to join, even as I play that Alan Nam video that inspired this particular show. And then, of course, there are also the tales of Kibet, as well as Billy, the guys who are released after days in abductions. And so we'll be looking at their tale and responding to it. And then we'll go back into the Moi era and hear what the people who had firsthand, passing through those Nyayo chambers. You just go to Nyayo house, pick your passport and go. You don't know what is underneath that house and what went down underneath that house in terms of torturing Kenyans. We'll also be reliving part of that just to joke your memory and help you begin to appreciate that the freedoms we have, if we don't guard them, we will soon forget them. And we'll go back to a world that we have not known before. So please, let's ensure that we lay to heart some of these things that we raise here, because, you just never know. You just never know. So we will be helping you appreciate this. And I'm expecting some guests that will be helping us make sense of that. Then, of course, a series of videos to help us. And then, of course, today was Baba's 80th birthday. So happy birthday to Raila Amolo Odinga, even as he looks strong and ready for Africa. In my eye, whatever eye you look at it, it's all upon you. But he looks better than 80. Yet he is 80, but looking younger, stronger, and more resolved to serve mankind. I think that's a life worth emulating for the positive undertakings in the pretext of giving your being to serve mankind. And so happy birthday to Raila Odinga, 80th birthday. 80th, you know, that's bonus. And then, of course, life worth living. Life worth living. No, not everybody can be written about having lived most of his youthful life fighting and struggling for a country. Not many of us can attest to that. And so we have every reason to appreciate the input of those that went ahead of us. Most of what we are enjoying now is their torture, is their sweat, is their blood. People like Koiki Wamwere, Itopi Manyara, all the people that suffered in the hands of the high-handed regimes of the past, and pushed for free Kenya, pushed for a Kenya where Kenyans can be free to express themselves. We dare not take that lightly, even as we look at what is going on right now that looks like what used to happen. And probably I'll be giving in that link. I'm hoping to be joined later on by Bishop as well as Jeremani to help us look into this historical reality. Well, but to start us out, let's listen out to this heart-searching questions by Alan Namu, and then from there we can talk. Please make sure, karibisha mtu usitazame peke yako. It's a short video, but telling something that we need to pay attention to.
For those of us who were born in, grew up in the 1980s, and those who lived through the Kanu regime, perhaps older than me, my parents' generation, there was a story that we used to be told about how it was dangerous to even whisper the name of Daniel Arap Moi, lest someone hear you and you get picked off the street. And it sounds like a folk story to people who are younger than I am, because they've lived in a Kenya that didn't have that, and doesn't really have that on its history books, but that happened. I remember it. People walk past Nyayo House and complain about the inefficiencies with passports, but they forget that underneath Nyayo House in its basement was a torture chamber. Young men were picked off the street, young men and women I should say, and disappeared into that torture chamber. Some made it out alive, others did not. I would imagine that the first abduction started with not much concern, and then more happened, and eventually things came to light, I should say. So this is a message to those who remember. Even if it is not in our history books, we remember what it felt like to live under the shackles of fear. Again, no matter your opinions about the protests, there is a much, much bigger fight that is happening, and it is for the soul of this country. If you remember, and you remember what it felt like, then you should be very concerned if your children are going to live through this. We should all be concerned, and our voices should be raised. We should be blowing the roofs off of every house in Kenya in protest against what is happening. We will be told that we don't know who it is that is doing the picking of young men from the streets. But deep down we all know. I'm not even going to do this as a journalist. I'm going to talk to you as a person who remembers. People, it is happening now. Remember what it felt like. Do not allow it to happen to your children.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. Some of us seem not to be drawing the lesson and treating this matter with the seriousness it deserves. Others are turning it into a comedy, a joke, or something like that. It all starts slowly. It all starts one individual. Then it becomes 2, then 3, then 4, then 6, then 10. Then it becomes the whole country. So the best place to deal with weeds in your farm is to uproot them when they are still young. When you allow the weeds to grow and take root, when you go to begin to uproot them, you will begin to destroy your crop. The best time to stop the madness that is happening in this country is now. Postponing it one more day is buying time for what we are not ready to bargain for. So if you have proper memory of you lived through the Moi era, and you saw how we were careful. Even debating in school was an issue. I mean, choosing the debate in school was a problem, because you can't discuss the demerits and the leadership and the misrepresentation of the Moi era. Moi was number one father, number one dad, number one farmer, number one teacher, number one engineer, number one lecturer. He was the vice chancellor of all universities. I mean, he was the standard. And then any question mark raised on him was visited with terror. Now, I would want us to, I know there are those that are beneficiaries of the Moi era, like us. Of course, we went to school, Maziwa Nyayo, and then, of course, there are positive things about the Moi era. But this aspect of curtailing the freedoms of the people in your attempt to impose your leadership on them is a serious threat to our livelihood as the people of Kenya, that we cannot take this lying down. So I invite your input from wherever you are, please. Karibu tukajadili masuala haya kwa kina. Mimi naamini kwamba ukweli wa mambo ndio peke yake ambao utatuweka huru, na kuambiana ukweli, hiyo ndio haki ya kila Mkenya, kwa sababu kudanganyana saa hii, mambo yamekwenda murama, ni wazi. Okay, hata tufanye nini, we cannot pretend anymore. Things are no longer easy in this country. Things are no longer working in this country. Somebody sent me another joke here. It says a caption about who in their right mind will be able to do away with Linda Mama and introduce Linda Ng'ombe. Look at that. You do away with Linda Mama and introduce Linda Ng'ombe. I mean, can you imagine that? But that's what we are doing. And so as we engage, I would want to hear your opinion on the same. And so I ensure that I bring that video and just help us embrace what is happening. So it began slowly. It began like one person at a time. And it's usually those people, those that are not my relatives, those that are not too close to me, those that may not affect me, okay? And then until they have come for you. And there will be nobody to speak for you. Let me just get that poem so that we recite it again as a reminder, okay? I'm doing this to help us. I'm doing this to help us so that we can embrace these realities and treat them with the required urgency, okay? Required urgency, as well as treat them with the required, spirit, because it appears to me that some of us are playing with what is really dangerous. We are playing with what is really dangerous. The coming of the resurgent of what's going on in our country is something that I don't see us responding to it with the required, seriousness as we are needed to. It appears ni kama bado tumelala. It appears like we feel like we still have got time. We can still give Zakayo more time. We will still catch him and be able to stop him. It all begins like that. And kama umekuwa makini kwa masuala ya Zakayo na mwenendo wake wa kwenda kinyume na sheria, alianza na kutoa all subsidies, okay? Ikasemekana tutarayo tutafanya nini, tutamkomesha. Haya, ikawa sasa ni norm, hakuna subsidy tena. Akaondoa nini, afya kwa wanafunzi, we did nothing, okay? Akatoa Linda Mama, we did nothing. Now, unaona, so he systematically has been doing what? Replacing what has been the shield for Kenyans and the safeguards for Kenyans, and Kenyans have not responded with equal passion and, in protest. And this seems to be a very good response from him, that he can push us further and further, and we will be giving in ground and ground. Every time he pushes us, we move back. He pushes us, we move back. He pushes us, we move back. And no more no confrontations. And so it turns it into hawa ni mewazoea, okay? Nitafanya vile navyotaka, hakuna kile watanifanya. And so I want us, even as we look at this, to begin to understand that this is not a problem that is far away from you. It is not far away from you. Let's just get this poem by this priest, and this Pastor Martin Niomola. Okay, he said, first they came for the Jews, and first they came for the Jews, and I did not speak out because I was not a Jew. Okay, then they came for the communists, and I did not speak out because I was not a communist. Then they came for the trade unionists, and I did not speak out because I was not a trade unionist. Then they came for me, and there was no one left to speak out for me. Every time somebody speaks, you keep quiet. Somebody's abducted, you treat it in your wallet. Every time something goes wrong and you accept the wrong or support the wrong, you're part of the problem. Eventually, when they come for you, there will be nobody left to speak for you. And so if there was any time Kenyans need to raise their voice and speak up, is now. Don't wait anymore. These abductions are a test to see how much we can take without stopping the ills against Kenyans. Don't joke around. I think this is a preamble of an already scripted reality that they want to bend this country into, so that they can ride and run on everybody and on everything. Just look at the demeanor of people like Sudi. Look at the demeanor of General Gay and all the kitchen cabinet spokesmen. Look, the contempt by which they are, treating Kenyans, and Kenyans insulting Kenyans' intelligence. Look at the way Sudi is responding to the clergy when they are saying that things are not in place. The country is being led in the wrong direction. Look at the kind of response they are giving. It shows you that they are determined to do what they want to do, and they will not allow anybody to stand in their way. And so, which part of history, which side of history will you be? Are you going to speak up, or you keep silent until they come for you? Thank you, everybody. As you join, please make sure you are inviting somebody. And then, of course, we want also to remind you that you need to subscribe to this particular channel. And then the other channel, it lost all subscribers. And so we need you to get back and subscribe. We need to get to our 1,000 subscribers as soon as possible. So we need you to help us. I'll be sharing the link of direct subscription. You click on it to take you to subscribe. You subscribe mara moja. Utusaidie your channel. We need to begin to stream on it as soon as it reaches a sizable number of subscribers. We started out yesterday. We're already at 20 subscribers. I was hoping we should be at 300 since we had many of us who had already subscribed on the channel. Just take a moment and do the subscription, but don't cancel your subscription here. And then, of course, this is the only place you can join as a member on Sound Candy Talk Live. The other one cannot, since it lost subscribers, so we are not eligible for monetization on level on YouTube until we get to 1,000 subscribers and of course another 4,000 watch hours. Now, those are requirements by YouTube. And here is Kusumbwe. One step at a time will carry you through and let you understand what needs to be done. We urge you, just cooperate. Tukikuomba subscribe. Tukikuomba saidia jirani yako subscribe, please tusaidie. We need that channel fully operational and of course running. And shame on those that went to mess it up, hoping to take it over, but now it backfired. But all in all, Mungu ni mwema. Aya, naomba tusonge mbele. Nashukuru kama kuna swali uliza, lakini historia lazima itumike vizuri. Tusipochunga tutarejea kule ambako tumetoka, kule ambako tulisema hatutarudi tena. Misri hatutarudi tena. Inaonekana tumeingia hiyo gari la kurudi Misri na tunaelekea huko Misri, na wengine wetu hata tuoni kama tunaelekea Misri. Kwa hivyo nawaomba tu tafadhali tumakinike tunapoangazia masuala haya. Usichukulie kama ni mzaha, usichukulie kama ni mchezo. Hapa kuna ngoma inachezwa, na hii ngoma mimi naona haielekei vizuri. Kama hatutasimama vizuri, tukachukue msimamo ambao unaeleweka, sisi ndio tutakuwa wa kwanza kufanya nini? Sisi ndio tutakuwa wa kwanza kulia, okay? Wanasema ukicha mwana kulia, mwisho utalia wewe. Kuna ile hali ambayo tusipojitahidi kuhakikisha kwamba aturudi huko, tutarejeshwa huko by force. Tutarejeshwa huko na wale ambao hawataki mabadiliko na hawataki kuongoza nchi hii kulingana na katiba mpya. Wanataka turudi kwa ile katiba kongwe ambako rais alikuwa kila kitu, akikohoa kila mtu analala na anasema ndio saa. Maswali hakuna kuuliza maswali. Everything becomes an extension of the president, imperial president. He coughs, everybody lies down. He sacks anybody, he appoints anybody, and he runs the country as his kitchen. That is not what the 2010 Constitution envisioned, and anybody wanting to take us back there, we need to reject it, resist it, and of course, speak up to say that we cannot go there anymore. And so as we look at this, please don't relent. Let's remain strong in the fight until we deliver what needs to be delivered. So let's hear this story of these young people that were recently released from abduction. And they would simply just help us to, embrace the reality of what we are dealing with. Even as we look at it from different angles, from different people, and then they will be taking you through the other aspect of the same by helping you relate to stories of those that survived from Nyayo chambers. Some of those stories are very horrifying, and we really need to draw our lessons from the same. Let's hear this out first.
The preliminary report is that the young man is traumatized, seriously traumatized, and he has been whipped, amepigwa vita, na pia amekuwa kwa room ambayo iko na giza. So the young man, when tulikuwa nakula Christmas, yeye alikuwa mahali ambapo hawezi jua mahali yupo. Na I want to say that hata kama tumepata Billy, and this one I'm saying as a lawmaker, let Billy be the last person to go through the ordeal that he has gone through. Let the parents of Billy Mwangi be the last people to go through that ordeal. Na mimi, I want to take this opportunity to say we are even going to look at how we can change our laws to ensure if such a thing happens, the government first stops, because one of us is all of us. Na nirudie mahali nilisema ya kwamba that the law is very clear on how mtu yoyote amekosea anafaa kufanyiwa, and kwa sababu Billy has not been charged, ni kumaanisha hawa watu walikuwa wanataka kututia uoga, kutuweka baridi. But I want to promise them that badala ya kutuweka uoga, mumetutia nguvu. We will not allow lawlessness, the overreach of government, na vitu ambazo zinaonyesha ya kwamba sheria na katiba ya Kenya haifuatwi. Nimeona people like Oscar Sudi wakisema they would have done even worse. And I want to ask my brother Oscar Sudi, na nimeona vizuri sana, is very close to the president. First of all, unaiweka in a way that unajua uko karibu na mkubwa wa nchi yote ya Kenya. You cannot be speaking despicable language ya kufanya mzazi yoyote, Mkenya yoyote asikie kama ako katika jela ama ako ile level ya kusema imprisonment. I want to condemn your words. Na niseme, Rais, avoid such people near you if you love the people of Kenya. Heart, who are making Kenyans feel helpless. Avoid them completely, because they are maligning you and setting you up against the people of the Republic of Kenya.
Nashukuru Mungu sana niko alive, and that's the first thing. And the second thing is to Mungu sana niko alive, and these are my loving parents. Na nashukuru Mungu sana niko alive, and that's the first thing. And the second thing is to mine for their support. Kutoka siku ya kwanza walininang'ania. Kitu ya pili, ya tatu, nataka kushukuru wale wote wali push hashtag ya Free Billy Mwangi, Free Psychosins, Free Billy Wanyiri Mwangi, Free Billy pale X, pale Facebook, pale Instagram. And also nataka kushukuru my neighbors, caring neighbors, the likes of my dad's best friend Ngavu, pia amenisaidia, na pia kila mtu wa Embu mwenye aliweka protest, a peaceful protest again. Hakukuwa na vita, hakukuwa na vurugu, ilikuwa peaceful protest, ndo niachiliwe. Nawashukuru sana. And also my church, which I normally go every Sunday.
How was the situation where you are held?
Situation siwezi sema kwa sababu kiakili siko sawa. Jana nilitoka hospitali, nilikuja nimechanganyikiwa, and I couldn't even recognize anything.
How did you ride here home?
Niliweza kuchukua matatu kutoka Nyeri hadi Embu, ndo nika-arrive at around 8 am, and my parents were very happy. Nikipiga mlango nikisema mom, nifungulieni mlango, na they came rushing to hug me and receive me. Hata neighbors walikuwa na furaha sana, because it is something which they didn't expect, but Mungu alitimiza.
Chakula ilikuwa inatosha huko? Chakula ile ilikuwa inatosha?
Chakula ilikuwa siwezi sema ni chakula, kwa sababu the situation was not conducive for me. Mpaka saa hii naendelea kunywa na madawa. Nilipewa madawa na daktari, which personally inani affect. Siwezi fikiria sana. I'm tormented, I'm tortured psychologically.
Unaweza kumbuka ulikuwa unakula mara ngapi kwa siku?
siwezi sema hiyo kwa sasa.
Regina Wairimu, the mother to Mire, na mimi ninashukuru kuwa mtoto wetu ako uhai na amerudi akiwa salama. Alikuja na little cough, lakini tukaenda hospitali akafanyiwa matesti fulani hapo, ako sawa. Na mimi ninashukuru kila mmoja mwenye alituombea. Alafu mimi na vile nataka kusema ni kwamba wale watu wote walishirikiana kupanga hii maneno, kuexecute kila kitu walifanya, kunitesea mtoto wangu. Mimi hiyo yote iko behind me na iko behind us. Tumewasamehe, na vile ningeuliza wao wakichukua hao watoto waache kuhandle hao watoto kama they are criminals. Kuna criminals wengi sana, wezi nini, wachukue hao watoto, wakishikwa wapeleke polisi, waite wazazi, and then from there tutaongelesha mtoto ama kitu kaa hiyo. Sasa sisi vile tunasema tuko na Thanksgiving St. Andrews Old Stadium Church on Sunday at 8:30. Tushukuru Mungu kwa sababu isipokuwa ni Mungu tungeitiwa mtoto akiwa maiti. Vile tuliona kunao watoto wamekufa, na we want to thank God sincerely.
Ni kwamba takriban watu 24 wanaodaiwa kutekwa nyara tangu Juni mwaka jana 2024. Hawa ni walimu, familia zao zikizama ndani ya mafadhaiko na kiwewe, lakini asasi za usalama zinasema hazihusiki na utekaji nyara, huku wakilaumiwa na umma kwa kuteka vijana wanaokosoa serikali katika mitandao ya kijamii. Vijana 5 kati ya 6 waliotekwa nyara Disemba waliachiliwa huru jana wakiwa hai, na bado polisi hawajatoa majibu ya kuridhisha kwa umma na familia zilizoathiriwa. Baadhi ya viongozi wa ngazi za juu serikalini wanalaumu aliyekuwa naibu rais Rigathi Gachagua na wakosoaji wa Kenya Kwanza kwa kupanga utekaji nyara ili kuchochea umma dhidi ya serikali. Lakini swali kuu ni je, nani anawateka nyara vijana? Huyu hapa mwanahabari wetu Laban Shaban na simulizi ya taarifa hiyo.
Tukio la Jumatatu la kuachiliwa kwa vijana 5 kati ya 6 waliotekwa nyara mwezi uliopita limezidisha maswali bila majibu ya ni nani anayewateka nyara vijana nchini. Pengine kwa wananchi wanaotafuta haki kutaka kukomeshwa kwa utekaji nyara, matukio haya yanakuwa fumbo gumu kufumbuliwa, lakini kwa hakika viongozi wa ngazi za juu serikalini na wasimamizi wa asasi za usalama wana majibu. Kufikia sasa, muda unayoyoma na kinachobainika ni lawama na maneno matupu bila matendo.
Na yale yamesemekana mambo ya abduction tutakomesha.
Baadhi ya viongozi wa serikali ya Kenya Kwanza wakionekana kujipiga kifua tu na kubainisha wanajua kinachotendeka.
Na rais, usiogope. Hiyo watu wakileta kisirani kamata. Kwani iko nini? Watafanya nini? Kenya haiwezi kuendeshwa na ukorofi. Lazima Kenya iendeshwe na ukweli. Sio kuanza kutuambia hati yako sijui tunafanya namna gani, na wewe unaambia rais nini? Hati sijui kuna abduction. Wangenipatia hiyo docket hiyo ya usalama siku 3 peke yake. Hiyo watoto na ujinga hiyo ya kuchora vitu kwa maneno itaisha. Kwa sababu lazima hakuna inji inaongozwa na upuzi. Lazima inji yote inaongozwa na katiba na heshima. Si ni kweli? Yeah. Na mtu asikutisha rais. Unajua mimi naona yule mtu tulivuguza baada anaongea hapo. Mwingine anasema sijui nini hapo. Mai kuona inji yenye mtu anaenda pamoja.
Mara kadhaa Inspekta Jenerali wa polisi Douglas Kanja ameondolea vijana wake lawama, akisema hawahusiki katika kuwageuza vijana mateka na kuwasababishia mateso yanayowatia kiwewe. Mnamo Jumatatu, idara ya polisi ilikana madai kuwa ni wao wameachilia mateka 5: Gideon Kibet, Ronnie Kiplangat, Bernard Kavuli, Peter Muteti na Billy Mwangi waliokamatwa Disemba mwaka 2024. Katika taarifa yake, Kanja alitangaza kuwa vijana hawa watahojiwa ili kufumbua fumbo la msururu wa utekaji nyara nchini. Viongozi serikalini kama vile kiongozi wa wengi katika bunge la kitaifa Kimani Ichung'wah na mbunge wa Mathira Eric Wamumbi wamelimbikizia lawama aliyekuwa naibu rais Rigathi Gachagua, naye Gachagua akihusisha serikali na utekaji nyara.
Aliyekuwa naibu wa rais, huyo ndiye mwenye kupanga mambo ya abductions ili awekelee huyu William Ruto.
Hii nimeona kibaraka yake huko, ile mjumbe anatumianga ati anadanganya wa Kenya ati hii abduction Rigathi Gachagua ndio anafanya. Ni ujinga, si ujinga.
Kati ya Gachagua aliyevuliwa mamlaka ya unaibu rais na serikali yenye mamlaka ya kikatiba ya kuangazia matatizo ya Wakenya, ni nani mwenye uwezo wa kupangusa machozi ya Wakenya? Iwapo viongozi wa serikali wana habari kuhusu maovu yanayotendewa raia kinyume cha sheria, kwa nini wanaongea tu na kuchelewa kuwashtaki washukiwa kotini na kuishia kuwatupa jela? Mbona hakuna mmoja kati ya wanasiasa hawa aliyejitoa kuwa shahidi katika kesi hizi za utekaji nyara? Kwa ujumla, angalau watu 20 waliotoweka baada ya kudaiwa kutekwa nyara tangu Juni mwaka jana wakati wa maandamano yaliyoongozwa na vijana wa kizazi cha Gen Z bado hawajulikani walipo. Katika ripoti yake ya hivi punde iliyotolewa mwishoni mwa Disemba mwaka 2024, Tume ya Kitaifa ya Kutetea Haki za Kibinadamu nchini ilisema kuwa angalau visa 82 vya utekaji nyara vimeripotiwa kati ya Juni na Disemba mwaka 2024. Mnamo Jumatatu, mbunge wa Mathira Eric Wamumbi aliandikia idara ya ujasusi wa jinai akitaka ichunguze matukio ya kutiliwa shaka katika hoteli ya Olive Gardens iliyoko jijini Nairobi. Wamumbi alidai hoteli hiyo inamilikiwa na Gachagua na inatumika kupanga njama za kujiteka nyara ili kuchochea umma dhidi ya serikali. Kama hatua ya Wamumbi aliyekuwa mshirika wa Gachagua itategua kitendawili cha utekaji nyara, pengine ni muda tu utabaini. Si mara ya kwanza Rais William Ruto ameahidi kuzima utekaji nyara na mauaji ya kiholela nchini. Juma lililopita, rais alikariri kauli hii.
Na hatuwezi kurudi nyuma pale mahali Wakenya walikuwa wanapatikana ati kwa mito.
Lakini kutimizwa kwa matarajio ya Wakenya kunaonekana kukiwa mbali na upeo wa macho yao, wakihisi serikali inawaangusha.
If the police cannot protect us, who will protect us? We need to be safe in our country. We need to have democracy in our country. We will keep marching and keep protesting until there's justice, there's freedom, there's good governance in our country.
Makundi ya kijamii sasa yanashinikiza kujiuzulu kwa naibu rais Kithure Kindiki, aliyekuwa waziri wa usalama, waziri wa sasa wa usalama Kipchumba Murkomen na viongozi wengine wa vyombo vya usalama ambao wanaaminika kuendeleza maovu ya utekaji nyara. Laban Shaban, NT.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, that is it. Our situation in the country doesn't look good, and there is now accusation and counter accusations on the same matter. The people concerned, instead of them responding to the questions, they are looking for who to blame so that they can, of course, escape the wrath of Kenyans. In my opinion, that is a little too late. The responsibility of the government is to take care of its people. If a government cannot account for over 80 people and now 20 people since the abduction started, we cannot continue calling ourselves a government and having a functioning government. One life not being accounted for is too bad for any government anywhere. So we cannot do that. There is a reason why there is registration of birth, there is registration of death, so that account records are kept and the government knows how many people they have who are alive, how many are sick, how many are what. Now, if we are living the way we are living right now, it looks bad. And then, of course, you see that explanation being given and those, shifting of responsibilities. I hope you listen to Sudi and the other parliamentarian. You see their demeanor and all that. It speaks volumes. Their body language sells them. They know what's happening. And then, of course, the aspect of an imagined reality that Ichungwa now says the person abducting people is Rigathi Gachagua. That's a joke or something. I mean, if it's Rigathi Gachagua, why is Rigathi Gachagua not arrested? Why is he not at the DCI? Why is he not behind bars so that he can help with investigations? I think Kenyans, we tolerate too much, and that tolerance is not helping this country. So let's speak up. Let's raise the alarm. I'm waiting for you guys to come and speak up. It appears the net is not favorable or something. Let's get in, let's speak up, and then we clear the show and get out of here. We're here to just shed light. And then, of course, I want us to link this to our past. When Moi came into office, Moi was the darling of everybody. Moi was the hustler of the late 70s, early 80s. He was the best president, the most loving, the most caring, the most darling of all presidents until 82 took place. And after 82, he metamorphosed into something else. And one sure thing that led him into being the cruel person that he ended up being is these abductions on the excuse of hawa ni Wakenya wanataka kupindua serikali. I want us not to lose that history because that is where it begins. So hapa imekuwa ni Gachagua, imekuwa ni Gen Z revolution, an excuse to introduce what? Abductions. Those abductions are leading us into what? A police state where people are going to live in fear and intimidation. Their freedoms are going to be curtailed. We're going to go back to that time when the chief used to come to your house and pick things. Amekujia pesa harambe. We're going in that time when the police will come to your house and turn everything upside down, throw you apart, your wife, your children, because they are looking for something. You are a threat to security, things like that. No warrant, no notice, no nothing. If we don't arrest this one, wait for it to grow into the big tree that will be very difficult to uproot. That is my invitation to you as a Kenyan that is concerned by this situation. Karibu sana, naomba tumakinike. Kenyan would love. How are you today?
I'm good, sir. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you. Karibu.
It's good to see you, bro.
Thank you. You too. Umejificha lakini.
Tulikuwa tunaenda expose ya CNN kidogo na tulikuwa tunaogopa kushikwa.
Hivi unafanya Zakaya anakuwa omnipresent.
Tunaogopa bwana kushikwa. Unajua acha tushikike huko, tushikamane huko nyuma. Huko unakimbia akienda, unajua squeeze, at least we know that he can't fly to I mean anything away from isipokuwa what is it, ni Zimbabwe ama ni Ghana ndio wameenda huko tena pia naimbiwa huko he must go.
Umeenda Ghana ku campaign tu. Ka holiday from Kasongo.
Na huko pia ameenda kuimbiwa Kasongo ingine, anaambiwa he must go too, ati watu wa kijiji. You know, Bernard, it's funny days that we are living in, and I've been, and thank you, Bernard, for always keeping the channel on. I know I've been gone for a long time, and Yeah, I'm not really active as I used to be, but the I've been watching and I still watch every day. Hata kama siko tu, bado naangalianga tu nikiwa tu huko nyuma. Naonanga Fatum huko anasumbua tu, I mean our chair lady a great lady huko, na kuona huku pia nyinyi. So it's good to be back here. I'm not fully back. There's a couple of things that I'm doing, but nilikuwa tu nataka just to throw some things out there kabla muanze kabisa, because I know people will be coming in. And I wanted to throw some things that I've caught just within the last 2-3 days. Bernard, we have to agree that this, we call them kids, but they're our brothers. I mean, they're not kids. These are human. I mean, after 18, you're not a kid anymore. You can make your own decision what you want to do. So tukiambiwa watoto, ati endeni wazazi endeni mkafanye watoto. Let me just start at that point. If you can agree, if you can accept me to do that. It's yesterday I had written some points because I wanted to come in yesterday. Na nikasema wacha tu nikanyagie kidogo because I was also doing a couple of things. Like I said, I'm on the move. I don't know if Bernard, the people that are listening to us, I don't know if they watched the CNN expose and also the AP expose, media expose, and also the Australia expose that came up about this abduction. There was so much international expose, and this Kasongo or Kaongo guy, however you want to do, anaogopaga this the international community anaiogopa sana, you know, na sijielewa ni kwa nini Bernard. And I had a little bit of an analogy, na hii utacheka cause ni ya kwenyu. Pole, najua tumetoka Christmas. Usinichape. Ingo. Unajua? Kwa hivyo mnatuambia nikuje niibe kuku ikiwa mzima iko na manyoya, niende nikule nyama, nirudishe manyoya kwa mfupa, alafu nikuje nikurudishie kuku yako. Kwa hivyo tumemalizana. Mimi si kuiba kuku. Si nimekurudishia kuku yako, nimekurudishia manyoya na mfupa. Ndio hiyo kuku yako. Kwa hivyo mimi usinishtaki, lakini nyama nilishakula. Lakini juu nimekurudishia mfupa na hiyo wewe tumemalizana. What is the analogy? Hii ni analogy gani natumia? Najua ni ufala kidogo, lakini mnisamee na mnielewe. Bernard, you cannot come and hijack someone or get Bernard nimchukue on the 24th. Yet kuna Christmas, which is the time that people actually spend together with family. And then kuna New Year's, wendo mweke mahali for 15 days or 16 days or 32 days. I don't care how many days you mweke. Alafu ukuje umwangushe wapi? Luanda or Machakos, mahali popote, alafu imeisha. Now, ni nani huyu alichukua kwanza in the first place? Sijui kama tunaenda pamoja baba. Ni nani huyu alimchukua in the first place? Na kwanza kuchukua ni halali ama si halali? Iko kwa sheria, haiko kwa sheria? So does it mean that I can go pick up, let me use a bad example because she's my sister, our Secretary General. I go get Fatum, I mean our Secretary General, nipote na yeye and then nikurudishie. Alafu nikwambie sawa bas tumemalizana. Okay, na wenye walichukua ni serikali. Nani alirudisha? So are we done? Nani alirudisha, nani alikuwa amechukua, na kwa nini alikuwa amechukua in the first place? Basically, for me, Bernard, I feel mimi kwangu nasikia nimeumwa, because I don't believe kwa nini mtu anaweza chukua. I mean, sioni kama hapa kuna any solution yenye imefanyika just because mtu amerudisha mtu. Umerudisha, ulikuwa umemchukua kwa nini first of all? Do we have a constitution? What does the constitution say? That's called abduction. It's in the constitution. That's a criminal offense. So if it's not the police, then we need to find out who it is. You cannot just bring these people back, the 5, which we still know there's a lot wengine bado hawajarudishwa, au ndio wenye walikuja kwa limelight. But I want us, Bernard, in a good essence, to look at the holistic of the whole thing. Was there criminality done there somewhere?
Yes, of course. If it is done outside the law and outside the provision of the law, it's already a crime.
So who's supposed to be taking care of taking care of the rule of law?
Of course, led by the executive, the security sector, and then of course the judiciary should be it's all intertwined, but the people that need to ensure the ones doing the day-to-day activities of the running of the affairs of the country, which is the executive and the interior ministry.
So at this point, we agree that there was a law. Somebody broke the law. We don't know who it is. We don't know if it's the police. We don't know if it's somebody else, right? At this point,
that's already out of question. In fact, the reason why they are returning the people is because they have already violated the law. They are trying to justify, or rather look for an escape route. You are not supposed to hold anybody in custody without producing them before the judge or a court of law in 24 hours. The moment the 24 hours elapses, except maybe there are exceptions for weekends, okay? Except for weekends or public holiday. If you hold anybody in terms of arrest more than 24 hours, it's already a crime. So if the person you arrested is eligible to sue you for holding him longer than necessary when he's supposed to be produced before the court of law. So keeping anybody 16 days, 7 days, 23 days, 31 days is criminal.
Who is this they that we're talking about?
The custodian of security in this country starts with the president and the head of wherever the running of the affairs of the country. So he should not come and tell us that somebody else is the one abducting people and he doesn't know that person. He should say that when he's handing over his resignation letter. Okay? And nimekuwa kwa hii kiti, si kuona vile machangili walikuja wakachukua watoto wetu. Sasa mimi nimeshindwa na hii kazi na resign. If he talks like that, tutamuelewa. But if he's still on the seat and he's not telling us who is abducting us, he is the one abducting us.
So sasa next time Bernard atakuja achukuliwa na Al-Shabaab, na Al-Shabaab wakishachukua Bernard waende wakae naye huko wakule sherehe huko kule wanakulaga sherehe, alafu wakuje wamwachilie pale Boni Forest, ama waamue badala Boni Forest tuko na mafuta ya kukufikisha maybe somewhere Machakos, wamwachilie hapo Machakos, alafu waseme tumemrudisha, bas imeisha, tuachane. Now Bernard, because I can see msimamo amekuja. Let me just run real quick. I had a couple of notes nilikuwa nimeandika na maybe mtanijibu. Bernard, I was in a Spice TV event today, this morning, and I was listening to Maanzo. Remember, mnajua mnaniingilianga sana mkiniambia mimi ni mtu wa huko. tulichapa Manzo today because Manzo was talking, and this is what I'm having a problem, because right now me, I'm not anywhere, na mtu asijaribu kuniambia niko side fulani, because like Manzo was talking about Kenya was going to be taken by the military or the Gen Z if they would have or if they or the Gen Z if they would have never made some different kind of way of doing things, so that is not taken by the military or the Gen Z, because how could the military and the Gen Z or the Gen Z, how can they govern the country? This is the reason, actually the main reason I came here, Bernard, to ask you this question. And you know, I've been here for a long time. Do you believe the Gen Z, and when we talk about the Gen Z, we're talking about the young people, and basically what wanasemanga Gen Z, but it's also Gen Z, millennial. And when you talk about millennial, you're talking about people who are 30s. Most of these people, these politicians, came into power or started being into power and they were in their 30s, 20s, and something like that. How old is Sakaja today? Isn't he you know how Selassie, how old is he? You know, so basically, I had this conversation a lot about, it's kind of like our country. Do the politicians that are already politicians feel like Bernard has no say and cannot do anything better than they can do, or better? Unajua, sijui kama unanielewa swali yangu Bernard, and maybe because wewe ni mchungaji, maybe utatueleza hii kitu yote. Ndio, ni wazee, tunawaheshimu, na wengine hata si wazee kutuliko. Dan Manzo is not older than I am. Sakaja is not older than I am. Neither is he older than you are. So what is this threat that they feel that you get someone like Dan Manzo bringing this clatter of saying, if this would have never happened, if the broad-based government would have never happened, the Gen Z were coming to get the government, it was either going to be the military or the Gen Zs. Are they the ones that actually know how to run the government more than these new educated people? And Bernard, the reason I'm saying this is because I feel tumefika mahali that these people, they feel that the only ones who know how a government is run. And it's the reason wanatuchapa tear gas, because wanaona sisi hatujiwezi, na ndio maana wakiona wameanza kushindwa wanashikana wote, because for them they think hao ndio wanajua hii serikali ni nini. That's why wanashinda wakitusitusi watu kila mahali, kwa matanga kila mahali. And let me, wacha niachi hapo because I can see msimamo amekuwa hapa, amekuja, nitanyamazia tu kidogo.
No, endelea tu kidogo Mato. Kuna kitu nafanya kama dakika 5 hivi, nitakuwa nimemaliza, alafu nitakuwa nimetulia. So endelea tu na kusikiza kidogo, I'll be back.
So Bernard, I have been I've been listening, and just I've been taking time to just listen to what is happening. And one thing that I've come to realize is that these guys that are already in the field, and I don't know what this government is, what they call government is, Bernard, and for so long I've always said that it needs to be a public service, not a government. What is a government? A government, Bernard, yesterday when I was in Spice TV, I was asking myself, what if we don't pay them a single cent? Just come and serve. What if you don't pay them? I can bet you Bernard, utaona wote, kila mtu anarudi, wenye wanajitanga madaktari, wengine hata hawajai kuwa daktari mahali popote. Utaona kila mtu, kama ni ukweli alikuwa daktari, ndio utaona kila mtu ameanza kutafuta Kenyatta Hospital kama kuna mgonjwa huko aende akatibu. Na hata hajai tibu tangu atoke, tangu hata apate hiyo degree hajai tibu. So you wonder, and it's something that I've been looking psychologically and just, politically. And Lala is here. Maybe Lala atatufungulia hiyo kitu. But when I heard even someone like Dan Manzo say that the country was going to go to the Gen Z or to the military if some quarters did not join with other quarters, and the Gen Z cannot run our country. Yet, these are the most educated people that we have in our country.
No,
I'm done.
no, Matu, I think we are. I think we're overreading. Eh? In my interaction with the whatever you're saying about Maanzu and probably the people from the school of thought, it is not necessarily a preventing of the government being run by the Gen Z or being run by the military. It is the choices that were available at that point in time in the heat of the crisis, and the decisions that were taken were all in view of that. And in my understanding is where we are faced with tear down the whole house and build afresh, or stop the fire from consuming part of the house and remain with part that is burned that can be renovated. So I don't think it's something that is cast in stone or a system of operation. It is just a crisis handling approach, which to me is, of course, is extra constitutional. Extra constitutional means it's not within the framework of the Constitution. And I believe that these people thought preventing a collapse, a government from collapsing, is a lesser evil than let the government collapse completely, and then we are able to, we are given the option of starting from scratch. And of course, we are surrounded by examples around. We have Sudan here, we have Somali, we have the other places where the Arab Spring and all that. Some of the things that have come out of collapsed governments have been positive to some degree, but some have been very devastating. And so being elders, like I always would be able to appreciate, babu yako atakwambia afadhali huyu mke uko naye ambaye mmekaa na yeye mvumiliane mmalize ndoa, kuliko wewe utupe huyu uende kutafuta mwingine ambaye hujui. So there is the elderly people who think differently, and they would rather prevent things from collapse than allow things to collapse so that they can rebuild. One, they're out of strength to rebuild. They just want to push it to the other side.
But Bernard, let me ask you a question on that. Just before you bring Lala,
Please,
just 1 second.
If yes.
Yes, 1 second. But nobody has ever said that we wanted the government. We just wanted to a reboot, and we were asking like, okay, now let's just do it again. Tufanye once again. Hakuna mtu alikuwa na vita. People were walking with the flags. There was no collapse of government. Nobody had any arms. It was just like, look, something has been done wrong here. Let's fix it. There was no threat of anything. No, even remember at that time, the Gen Z was saying, we are leaderless, we are partyless, we are headless, we are not whatever. We just want good governance. Nobody was coming there like like Museveni came into power in Uganda, coming into coming with guns and from sijui kutoka huko kwa mashamba sijui na nini kukuja kuharibu. People were just saying stop, ngoja kidogo, hapa kuna maneno, ifanyeni vizuri. People, we didn't even have the Kinamoraras at the time. We didn't even have the Kasamuels. Nobody was there. They just wanted to say, stop. Enough is enough. For now, do it the right way. And remember, even that was the time of the servers. So now when you talk about that, the Gen Zs were coming to take power or military was coming to take power, no, we just wanted to just do it right. And Bernard, whether you run away from that or whatever, however you explain it, that's how it was. My brother, I'm sorry.
So Mato, I get your point, and that has been made more, has been the explanation given. But I also want you to appreciate the reality of the other side. The reality of the other side is there is a spirited protest. The protest is against the government. You cannot say that we were not coming to take the government. The protest is against the government, is against the government policies. And then you are faced with people who are leaderless, okay? Tribalist, colorless, but they have a movement that is matching the energy that you don't have defense over. If there is any worst day for any government on earth, is when they are confronted by what they cannot tell what it is. That there is a clear enemy here, but you can't tell where they are coming from, who is leading them, who is speaking in them, and you have no clue. Now that's the worst leadership. That's the worst leadership crisis to find yourself in. So we should not explain the Gen Z as if they were coming from the church carrying candle, singing Christmas carols, going towards the parliament. This was a nationwide protest against the unpopular government for its unpopular decisions, and they were running scared. And so when we explain this matter and say we are not coming to take the government, we are not coming to overthrow the government, it is just an explanation, a theory. But the reality is, every time any administration is threatened to that level, the only thing that is imminent is like what happened. The latest place was where the prime minister akachukua ndege na akatoroka. Okay, it is like that. That when it comes like for example, if the Gen Z, after running down the parliament, if they succeeded to burn down the parliament, burn down the wherever the Supreme Court, and head for State House, you cannot say you are a government when that has been taken over. And so the choices were William Ruto to surrender to the military. Surrender to the military means now the military takes charge of the country. He is no longer the executive. So the military takes the executive of the country, and the military order is now the suspend of the civilian rule, which is now constitutional. Now we all buy into wherever the military administration structure, where command and you are to obey, nothing else. No questioning, no, this is my right, no, it's my freedom. All those freedoms are cancelled in a stroke of a pen. So the choices faced with this administration are because of their bad policies. Let's not forget that. It's because of their bad policies, their unthought through decisions, unthought through changes that rocked the country wrongly. It is all to be blamed on them. To say that the Gen Z cannot run the country, that is not true. I mean, you cannot tell them they cannot when they have never been given an opportunity to. And then secondly, how are they coming to take over? On which law? By what constitution? And so there are so many intrigues around that area of which I would want us to navigate safely And just as a reminder, today we're looking at how we are keeping silent when abductions are taking place, and this abduction is growing into something that will be stronger and bigger for us to contain if we don't arrest it now. And so I would want us to help Kenyans embrace our history of abductions, because abductions did not start with Ruto. Abductions were here in 82, and it was all in the name of Mwakenya. Any person who was suspected to be Mwakenya was picked. No questioning, no warrant, no nothing. So it all begins as an excuse, as a security issue, then it develops into something, then they will look for a law to bandage it, then support it. And before you know it, we are back into the police state. And that is what I would want us to help Kenyans embrace, because it appears to me that Wakenya haswa wale ambao wameishi in the 80s kama wewe Mato na mimi, when we used to look on the shoulder, when the flag, to hold the flag of Kenya, you hold it with fear and trembling. Ilikuwa kama sakramenti. Wewe ni Mkatoliki unaelewa. The revering the things of the government. It was, I mean, that fear is what they want back, and that's what they are enforcing. Should we allow that? And so the other things that are being feared by whoever that is fearing, they have reason to fear, and they better have that fear, because the collapse of any nation begins by the ignoring of the outcry of the majority of those people. And that is the mistake that William Ruto is making, ignoring the outcry of the majority. He thinks he can reign with the minority forever. It doesn't work. And so he may have survived the Gen Z in June 25th, but that is not over, and that is not gone. It is only warming up. Ni kama inafanya press up inakuja. So I don't think nothing is lost yet. We should wake up and begin to safeguard our freedoms. I hope that doesn't confuse anything.
It's just that there's a lot of people, so let me uendelea now wengine. I'm listening. Lakini I have a lot against what you say.
Tutazungumza siku ijaisha na we are here to talk. We'll talk a whole year long. I mean, this country, to fix it is not as strong, is not one sitting. Msimamo, kama uko ready, nikupe nafasi ama ni mpatie mzee kwanza? Okay, naomba hivi kabla ya Lala kuja ni lete huyu aseme tu kwa kifupi, alafu tusonge mbele.
Kwa majina naitwa Gideon Kibet, kwa Twitter najulikana kama Yoko or Kibet Bull. So nilikuwa nataka ni confirmie Kenyans kuwa niko safe na nimefika nyumbani salama. So na niliweza kudropiwa at first, sikuwa nikijua ni wapi. So kidogo nikaenda mbele, nikapata ni Luanda. Hapo Luanda nikatafuta mahali pa kukaa for safety mpaka ifika asubuhi ili nisafiri nyumbani.
Pengine ulidropiwa saa ngapi?
Hivi ilikuwa saa 9 to saa 10.
Wakenya wengi?
Hiyo tweet ilikuwa yangu. Ilikuwa nikitaka ni confirm kuwa to Kenyans that I'm safe.
Pengine hali yako iko aje?
No, sina majeraha yoyote kwa mwili. Maybe uchofu tu. Kwanza nataka nishukuru kila mtu wa Twitter mwenye alipush hashtag or anything. I will fanya to anything to make sure all the abducted guys walitolewa. Asante sana. Nawashukuru Kenyans. Roni tumeongea na yeye ako Nairobi na ako salama sana. Wako na marafiki. Abduction is real. I can confirm that. Then mimi naaji tu serikali kukuwe na freedom of speech. Or watumie mikakati poa kama kupeleka mtu kotini.
Okay.
mipango ni baada ya wiki moja nitawaambia after akili kusettle na kila kitu kuwa sawa.
Okay, Reverend Lala, take it, please.
Asante Bernard, it's good to be here, and msimamo Kenya with love na wenzetu ambao mko nyuma, wasikilizaji wote, jambo. Nimesikiza Kenya with love na Bernard wakizungumzia hayo mambo, Gen Z take over or not take over, why people on the both sides. And I think that's a very important part of this fight that people really need to be careful and think about before they really make decisions or before they talk. I remember August 82 when the Air Force guys went to the street and the coup, was underway. One of my best friends, alikuwa rafiki yangu kabisa kabisa, alikuwa kwa Air Force, and he was very good with arms and swords and all that. So he tells me, this is when I visited him the first time I was in committee. They opened, I don't know, 3-4 doors. Those who are condemned to die, he was waiting for his death because he was one of the people who were caught in the thing. And so I went in there, they opened the door for me, and I asked him what happened. And what he told me was that on the night of that wee hours in the morning of that night, he said that he was sleeping, and because they knew the kind of soldier he was, some of the young guys took him and told him, you go and open the armory for us. You're the one who can go there quietly. So alienda quietly, and he was able to overpower the guy who was there, gently. He did say he didn't beat anybody, kill anybody. And the armory was open, and the soldiers went in to take the arms, okay? The airmen and others. And of course, when they all came out, do you know what they did? They went and gave him, he was basically a low junior, non-enlisted, airman, okay? They brought him a uniform of a general to put on. And he said he was not even aware, he was not prepared for it, he was not part of it. But now he was supposed to be a general, okay? And here is a young man who had no training, first of all, just a junior. And now the power now he had was a general. They gave him, that kind of uniform, and they put him on a Land Rover there, okay? And to me, those are some of the scary things that can happen if things are not managed carefully, okay? And so what I'm saying here is that some of us, and I think I was one of the people, ever since I joined this group, I've been always on the idea of going back to where we went wrong, especially the last election. My idea was we are trying to reset, or go back to who really won the election, because that way it would help us identify where we went wrong and try to correct it from there. When we do that, the people coming in, whether it was now Baba is gone, maybe Martha takes over, okay, what we are saying is that we are constitutional. We respect the Constitution. We respect the wish of the people. This is what they decided based on what we know. Correct the problem, clean it. I will remember when Mzee Kenyatta died, Hayati Kenyatta died. I'm told it happened that somebody very close to Moi that time mentioned that the man was literally scared, running away, and he thought he's gonna die. Okay, but the people who were sent to get him told him, "Mzee, wewe ndio raisi." Okay, so what they did was to be able to go back and get the person who ought to be there, to let them know that this is the constitution, we move forward. But when we look at what went on, what was happening, when we talk of leaderless, powerless, so we can really understand the anxiety that people had. So if we pretend that things were fine because the people are going to lead us because they are leaderless and authorless, whatever it is, I think we're a little bit naive. I think there was there was a lot of concern, though we were with the agencies. We want them to move forward because we are fighting the fight that we have been fighting for a long time, abduction and everything else that was going on, because up to that time, a lot of people had been, had been killed. And some of us were there because we are trying to the memory of those who had been killed during the Azimio, Mandamano. So we wanted people to be brought to books. So they want the entire nation. The nation was behind them. The problem was a clear leadership, and that is a genuine concern people had, especially if you understand what it takes to organize a country, run it together. So, and part of the reason why I argued for all of us going back to where we got it wrong this last time was to do two things. Number one, we are saying to the nation that election must be respected. That is, we believe in the Constitution. At the same time, we are saying to the nation that if you mess with the election, then we have the power to get rid of you and to prosecute you. Basically, we're going to strengthen the judiciary because anyone messing with our constitution will be scared to do that. And so that was my thinking. But if we allow things to go spiral, then people will come taking over power and they see themselves as the power, not the people themselves. So that was one of my arguments. But I understand that, yes, we need this thing to continue and close it. But at the end, where do we want to end? Okay, can this vehicle take us there? And so asking those questions and listening to each other side, both sides, is really, really important. Because if we don't, then we actually, majority of countries start very, very well. And a lot of times, many of them, more than half of them, ends up with dictators, death, and many other things that basically, hurt the nation rather than helping. So I think the debate is Mato, debate and Bernard debate. I think those are legitimate debates that people should talk about, or else we won't be in a situation where we close our eyes and we don't know till we see what we have, and we are not very happy. And secondly, when it's leaderless, whatever it is we call it, there are so many people that are covered, are in with us who are not part of us. How do we identify them? How do we know them? And we may not know them because there's so many things going on. There's no clearer way of vetting, and everybody's vetting somebody. So we end up, vigilante groups that ends up basically fighting itself. Because you go in, look for it, because the target was Ruto, bad government. But then after Ruto's gone, then we turn to ourselves. And that happens all the time, many of these places. So leaders now start fighting among themselves. So these are some of the factors, issues that need to be discussed as we move forward. Back to you, Bernard.
Okay, thank you, Lala, for taking us that that history lane, and of course the crisis of sudden change, which it appears we seem not to be factoring. Some of us who want change and we want it now. As much as the country is in a bad place, change that is not properly managed is more disastrous. And it will take long before we get back on the track again. And so I would invite us to soberly look into the whole thing so that we strike a good balance. There is a reason why time is required, even changing an education system. You don't just come in and say, I'm scrubbing off, then I bring in this. Those changes are problematic. That's why now CBC is an issue. We have now grade 9 that doesn't have a classroom and has been coming all along. I mean, I don't know what went wrong with this country, but it appears sisi wale ambao tunadai sisi ndio wazee, pia sisi tunalala kwa sababu hakuna vile watoto watakaa shule wafanye mtihani wa class 6, wafanye wa class 7, wakienda grade 9 hatakuna classroom. So
Bernard,
all these things are happening because we are refusing to take responsibility and think ahead and secure the problem before it arises.
yeah,
Lalo,
Bernard,
unasemaje?
kile nasema ni hivi. Sometimes God opens doors for us, but we don't walk in those doors. And so it's almost like we get blinded. If Kenyans believe that the last election was legitimate, it means that between last election to 2027, we are, if things didn't go well, we are on the wrong footage, okay? So if no matter how much we try to legitimize what we have, I think we are going in the wrong direction. The question really is, how do we do something now to be able to correct the problem? And this is where I think we either be scared, cold feet, whatever the case may be. I think I still say what I said before, that Ruto should not leave up 2027. Because when we do that, first of all, we are strengthening non-constitutional means to get to power. In other words, we are helpless till 2027. I think if there's a unity government right now, because it's not, but let it be that the whole system government resign, get out of the way, let us organize ourselves, or go back to where we messed. If Gachagua is saying that they didn't win, people are bribed, then what are we waiting for? Okay, then we should be able to give those people who won, if Baba are going to Addis Ababa, let Martha Karua take over, and so that we can get back to where we have to be. But the thing is, we are empowering Kenyans. Okay, if Baba stays, take him, so that we look to 27 as a year of getting it right. Okay, so to me, I know it is out of question. I know it is, but to me, I think that is a way to avoid death, to stop this destructive event where things are moving from bad to worse, and to stop these wars that are tribal, and because the GNCs have given us something that I think we can embrace ourselves around, the power of the people, the power of ordinary wananchi, that we can all be together and we can act and we can say, this government, we don't need it, we want our government that we elected. And then out of that, then we can discuss now how we move forward. What are the structures here? How do we have the unity government to kind of create the transition to 2027 so that we can have a real election? Because right now, I don't see how we're going to get an election. You know, we don't even have IEBs. Strike is not there. The constitution is not there. So it is better either to go back and go to that constitution and let it realign itself from there, or we call a new system to come into play, or now to organize ourselves to the future. Because something has to happen. There has to be some kind of a thank you. Back to you.
Thank you. It's clear, and of course, we did not get it wrong in 2022. If anything, we started messing up our election soon as even before the new constitution. The 2007 election, the 2013 election, 2017 election.
The thing is, well, we can go a little bit closer. That way we can get a fulcrum at some point to be able to make some changes. We don't stop there. We still can go back to the past, but at this moment, which constitution should be reigning at this moment? We want to just focus on this moment so that we can use this one to correct the others. That's what I'm talking about. Thank you.
So thank you. In the interest of time, I would love to give enough time for everybody to make their submission. Na ni kama wote tumeingia mara moja. So naomba tafadhali, msimamo kama uko ready tafadhali.
Niko sawa, nashukuru. Pokea zangu Kenyan we love, pokea zangu Reverend, pokea zangu mama yetu mama Selina hapa. Tune na wengine weko upande wa comment section pia pokeeni za msimamo. Bila nimesikiza wenzangu hapa kuzungumza, mimi sina mengi, lakini najiuliza tu swali moja haswa. Naweza nikazungumzia kwa kila nyanja. Nini unajifundisha? Ikiwa ni mkulima, kwa ukulima nini unajifundisha hapo? Ikiwa ni kwa kanisa, nini unajifundisha hapo? Na kama ni kwa uongozi, ni nini unajifundisha hapo? So uongozi tulionao ndo najiuliza hili swali, ulijifundisha nini katika muda ambao wamekaa haswa katika swala zima hili la uongozi, kwa kila tuseme kwa kila awamu? Nini umejifundisha ili uitwe kiongozi? So tunaweza kuwa hapa tunalumbana, CBC, shule, hospitali, kumbe sicho ambacho mtu kajifundisha nacho. Na kile unachojifundisha nacho ndo unachokuwa nacho mjuzi, ndo unachokuwa nacho na uweledi. So je, serikali tulionayo imejifundisha nini? Uongozi ama hela? Maana hata hela pia ukijifundisha kwayo utakuwa gwiji ya kujua kwamba zinatoka na wapi, zinaingia na wapi, zinatega wapi. So hapa tukawa tunajiuliza, tunavutana hapa, kumbe sicho ambacho wamejifundisha nacho, na bila shaka kimtazamo wangu sicho ambacho wamejifundisha nacho. Kwa hiyo tukitegemea kwamba kutakuwa na elimu nzuri kwenye hili jimu, mimi kwangu naona ndoto. Tukiona kwamba tutakuwa na infrastructure ya maana ya kuonekana, mimi kwangu ndoto, kwa sababu humo mwenye infrastructure, humo mwenye masuala mazima na elimu, humo mwenye masuala mazima na mambo na afya na kadhalika, humo ndimo mlengwamo. Humo ndimo mnamolengwa. Kwa hivyo fungu likitengewa ni la hospitali, masuala na afya, watu wanatazama kwa jicho lingine la tatu. Sisi wa Kenya tukisubiri ahadi ama maneno, but tayari wenyewe wamejua kwamba hili donge limetengwa huku litakwenda kinamna gani na kinamna gani, tutafanya hivi na vile na vile. Maana hiyo ndio kauli ilikuwa tunafumbwa nayo macho wa Kenya wakati ule, nafanya namna hii, lakini hatujui hii namna hii ni nini. Sasa kumbe hii namna hii si masuala mazima na elimu, si masuala mazima na usalama, si masuala mazima na afya na kadhalika, na mambo ambayo yanafungamana na haya. Kwa hivyo kile ujifundishacho nacho ndo unachokuwa guji nacho. Kwa hivyo ukijifundisha wizi, basi utakuwa gwiji kwa masuala mazima na wizi. Asante. Mimi nitakwamia hapo kaka, nimpishe mama, nitakwenda mbali.
Okay, asante Msimamo. Nashukuru kwa hayo, lakini mafumbo mengi wewe utashtakiwa. Acha tusikilize hii alafu mama achukulie hapo.
Now, just days after the late former president, Daniel Moi, was laid to rest at his home, survivors of the Nyayo House torture and their families today commemorated the 16th anniversary to remember the suffering they went through during Moi's regime. The victims are now calling upon the government to respect court orders directing the compensation to ease the suffering. Joel Chacha now with more.
Nyayo House remains in the history of Kenya as one of the buildings indelibly marked by a legacy of torture. The building has 12 strong rooms in the basement that are turned into pitch black holding cells and concrete soundproof slabs used to detain without trial and torture persons accused of undermining the government of the late President Daniel Moi in the 1980s. Former Nyayo House detainees who commemorated the 16th anniversary today are now calling on sitting President Uhuru Kenyatta to help facilitate compensation for the harm suffered as awarded by the courts.
I was taken to city mortuary. Nikarara huko kama siku tatu. Unapelekwa jioni alafu unachukuliwa asubuhi. Wanaenda wanakupeleka huko wanakuambia hebu tuwekee, wanaambia huyo mtu wa mortuary hebu tuwekee hii maiti. Unajua sasa hiyo ukitoka huko umepigwa unafahamu.
After I had been beaten and I'd put in water, when I was removed in the morning and told to sit down, naked as I was born, a very beautiful lady came with a panga in her hand, asked me whether I'd been circumcised. Big person like you have not been, sit properly. I want to circumcise you today with this. Say, use that in chopping off my hair. So she just came with her heels, stepped on my manhood. Sit properly. Very humiliating.
The commemoration coming days after Prime Minister Raila Odinga was one of the victims decided to forgive the late head of state Daniel Moi. Victims are, however, of a different opinion. For them, there is no forgiveness to the atrocities committed. The victims are also calling for the turning of Nyayo House into a memorial in the remembrance.
Wangu mimi nasema siwezi samehe. Kwa ajili ile statement yalitoa. Alisema ya kwamba kama iko mtu nilikosea. So it means that he don't know. He don't know. Kwa hivyo mimi hata nikikuta Moi kwa Mungu sitataka hiyo wai. Sitaki.
And we have been follow up on compensation. Up to now we are still looking but nothing has happened. So we will request the government to do something so that our families can live well, because it happened when we were still young, and up to now, some of us are still suffering.
Various prominent persons who successfully sued, among them former Subukia Member of Parliament Koigi Wamwere, have since been paid. For many others, however, it has been a cat and mouse game with the government. Joel Chacha, Switch TV.
Mama Selina, karibu.
Bernard, nipatie 5 minutes.
Okay, so then we'll go back to Kenyan Would Love. In view of that video talking the victims of the torture chambers of Nyayo chambers, just listening to those people and their ordeal in the hands of the torturers. And it was all in the pretext that they are defending a regime, defending a particular government. What lessons are we carrying from here? Kenyan Would Love.
Ben, naweza nikachangia kidogo tu.
Aya, karibu kama already enda.
Mimi bado niko pale pale kwa unachojifundisha. Unajua wewe umecheza hizi
yeah, pole Bernard, I'm doing something. Nipatie dakika mbili.
Sawa, simama,
na
endelea.
naamini umecheza hii video vizuri kabisa. Sasa katika enzi hizi wanafunzi wakati ule wa masuala kama haya haswa na ufisadi walikuwa wakina nani? Kwa maana unachojifundisha ndicho kinakaa katika akili. Ukijifundisha ujenzi, masaa yote wewe akili yako inafikiria hapo, kwa sababu hapo ndipo ambapo unapopaelewa. Ukiwa dereva vivyo hivyo. Sasa Bernard, wakati huu nimekomaa sasa. Wakati ule nilikuwa mwanafunzi na ndicho nilichojifundisha. Ni nini ambacho kitanifanya mimi niogope kufanya kile ambacho kimejaa katika nafsi yangu? Maana hicho ndicho nachoelewa. Sasa ukiniletea masuala mimi na governance, sina, bado nataka nirudi kule kule, kwa sababu nilikuwa na kuona faida yake. Mfano, kuna ogofya wengine na wengi bwana, mimi mtu msimdanganye bwana. Hii roho wa kuondoka hivi hivi tu mtu si rahisi. Hii ni Mungu tu, lakini si rahisi mtu akubali tu hivi hivi. So wengi ni sisi waoga, kwa sababu pia tumetolewa maskini. So kukiwa na vijela tunabadilisha nia, lakini ukweli wa mambo, mimi kimtazamo wangu Bernard, kile unachojifundisha ndicho kinakaa katika akili yako na ndicho kifanyacho. So the only way sasa hivi ambayo inaweza tusaidia si blame, kulaumiana ati kura yetu tunafanya wrong decision kuchagua viongozi. Hii watu walipima, walikaa chini, wamekaa kwa muda. Wakenya tunakuwa ni watu wa namna gani? So tukigundua vale mahali tumekosea, kwamba we don't go like hatuendi kama kundi, tunaenda tangia awali. Mageuzi tunayapigania watu wachache, hatuendi kama Wakenya wote. Ndio maana sasa tumejipata tulipo hapa, japo tuna bahati ya hawa watu kujikusanya ili tuweze kuondoa, tupate viongozi watakaosimamisha hili taifa katika misingi ya kimaendeleo, kwamba wale wanapewa dockets za elimu wasimamie vyema, wale wanapewa mawaziri masuala mazima na usalama wasimamie vyema, wale wa afya wasimamie vyema, kwa sababu hii kazi imegawiwa haswa katika mfumo ambao ni mzuri zaidi, kwamba iwe rahisi. Lakini kipi kinasababisha this time around haya mambo haya? Kwa sababu watu hawajifundisha jinsi ya kugovern, jinsi ya kuleta maendeleo, jinsi ya kuweza kusimamia masuala mazima na afya. Watu walijifundisha. This is the time now, wakati wa kufaidi na kula kiki yetu, kwa sababu tumetumia nyingi. Wacha tukutafute nyingi ili tujipange katika masuala mazima yajayo na tuendelee kubaki katika power, kwa sababu watu wanaamini ukiwa nacho basi uende kusema. Sasa hii haifungamani kabisa na masuala mazima na uendelevu wa taifa katika misingi ama miundombinu. Kwa maana hiyo, Bernard, mimi nasema unachojifundisha ndicho ambacho kinakaa katika akili yako na ndicho ambacho utaweza kukifanya, huwezi ficha hapo. So adoption na haya mambo yanafanyika hayana tofauti na yale yalikuwa yanafanyika wakati ule wa chamber tortures. Wakati huo komesha, tisha, uwa wawili watatu, wanaingia uoga, tuendelee na safari. Asante.
Reverend Raila, uliinua mkono.
Bernard, I just want to comment on, make my comments, especially what these people who have gone through torture, abducted, or those who, you are sharing their experiences. One of the key disorder is called PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. And I'll give you an example. Some few years ago, I was in a military barrack that is in Texas, Fort Bliss. A young man came to my office, a young soldier. He had driven the whole night from a city called Albuquerque, New Mexico. He was coming back to the base. And he came straight to my office. Then I asked him, what is it? What's going on here? And the young man told me that throughout the night while driving here, I was talking to my friend throughout the night. And when I arrived at the base, that's when I realized that my friend is no more. And this was a friend that he was with in Iraq. They were ambushed, and a friend died at that time. But because he was not hurt, nobody, no bomb, he was clean and everything was fine. They triaged him a little bit and gave him he was a driver, one of the military vehicles. He kept on driving, so he did not go for any help. After he had come back to the US and he had gone home, coming back, that is when the reality came to him that actually his friend was gone. PTSD is what these people that have been abducted will deal with for the rest of their lives. We can treat it, but you can't cure it. So these people will have nightmares, distressing dreams, emotional numbness, difficulty, feeling things, hypervigilance, always startled, feeling that something is going to happen to them, negative thoughts, okay, persistence, in their beliefs, reduced interest, basically in things that they used to enjoy, feeling of hopelessness, flashbacks, avoidance, and sleep issues that actually leads many to commit suicide or become drunks or have marital problems. Their lives will not be the same again. That is what abduction is doing to these people that are narrating the story. I can basically see some of the factors I'm talking about here, just the way they're talking. And those guys who were talking, I think that was after many years. And if you visit them today, they have not moved that far. If they didn't get a lot of treatments, many hours of treatment, spreading for months and years, this is what we are doing to the future of our nation. We are creating homelessness in some of these people. They can't hold jobs. That means they're useless. We are creating people that will be doing things to other people, killing and beating and doing that. People who basically were the top of the cream, now they're useless. And this is the government that is doing this in the lives of these people, destroying its own citizenship. This is why abduction must stop. Whoever's doing it, the nation must come together and stop it. It doesn't matter what it takes to get these people stopped. It is almost like Tanzania's attacked us. It's almost like Somalia's attacked us, and that response is needed when you're attacked. And this is an attack because we don't know next who is going to be abducted. And when I hear of a young man dropped at 3 a.m. in Luanda, okay, guys, if you know where Luanda is, that is, this person seemed to come from Rift Valley. Luanda is not too far from River Nzoia, where they would throw people. Okay, it's the western part of Kenya. That young man is traumatized, and that young man will never be the same again. He needs to be in therapy for years, not for months, for years, to be able to get back to what we call new normal. Okay, because he can't be normal the way he was before, and this is what we are dealing with in people that are creating this kind of a problem. Therefore, I think, Bernard, it is important for us to let people know how these people are suffering. Let's be compassionate to them. Let's listen to them. Let's care for them because they are not the same. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Reverend Lala, for taking us on that insightful understanding. That's why it's important that decisions are made soberly. The government should not resort to primitive means of tackling a simple problem with the complex responses. I still believe that the situation is not that bad to bring in the terror group and all extrajudicial means of dealing with dissenting voices. Ruto should just own up, run the country according to the constitution, or vacate office. It is that simple. There is no need of torturing and destroying destinies of our children.
Decide to resign.
Yes,
Canadian
he can
family.
resign quietly. We can give him whatever settlement. We have always had that. I don't see why Nini. It's the way Sudi is talking that there is nobody who runs for one term. Kwani Sudi ajui kwamba Biden alirun one term Mato? Ujaambia Sudi kwamba Biden was one term president?
By the way,
Mandela.
Sudi ni wa nini gani?
Sudi ni engineer doctor.
Ndio nashanga hizo terms zake za doctor na I thought the last time I had alikuwa ngoja, kwani Bernard mnananga sijui nirudi Kenya nikuje kufanya degree tena? Mnananga nini? Mnapataga doctorate kama umetoka class 4?
Itisha tu nikulete.
No, lakini Bernard, unajua imefika my friend imefika mahali, by the way, I think politics pia imetukalia my brother. Politics imetukalia to where someone can say anything as long and by the way, is there a language called politics? Do you understand? Inafikaga mahali unasikia watu wakisema wanasema, lakini hiyo ilikuwa siasa.
Hiyo ilikuwa siasa. Uliambiwa siasa inamaanisha si hasa. It is not real.
So it's not real. And you're telling us it's not real. And we are supposed to follow something that is not real. Because it's what? Politics. I was watching something, Bernard, nilikuwa nafuata kitu fulani hapo hivyo, and yani Bernard, I think Kenyans pia lazima kwanza pia wanyamaze kwanza, wajiulize. Unajua kwanza unakaa chini unajiuliza huyu mtu anasema nini? Wewe ni mhubiri. Nikisikia umenisomea John 3:16, for God so loved the world, and hiyo, yes, of course najua, of course hiyo ni ukweli kwa hapo, lakini hatuwezi kuwa tunakaa chini hivi Bernard, kwa ukweli ya Mungu yenyewe hata kama sio Mungu, hata kama ni kwa ukweli ya akili zetu, hatuwezi kuwa tunakaa chini hivi, tunakuja mtu tu bora amefungua mdomo ameongea kitu lazima mfuate. Already unajua ni uongo na bado unafuata. I don't get it, Bernard, nimechoka. Yaani unapata mtu anakuambia, let me give a bad example yenye imeniuma sana. Unapata tunaambiwa mtu amejiabduct, alafu mtu ameenda amekufa. Na ndio Wakenya wamekuwa wakiuliza, kwa hivyo mimi nijiabduct, niende kwa hoteli ya Gachagua, hata kasi ya Gachagua, hata hoteli yangu, ama niende kwa Bernard, kwa rafiki yangu Bernard, niende nikakae kwake huko nijifiche na nisemekane nimejiabduct, alafu bado niende nijipate nimekufa. Kwa hivyo niliafta kujiabduct, niende nikajidunga kisu, nikaenda nikakufa. End result, I mean, mimi ile kitu nimekam kuchoka nayo Bernard, what I've come to just get tired about is the politicking, that there's a language that they say, okay, kuna ukweli na kuna lugha ya politician. Kuna lugha ya ukweli na kuna lugha ya politician. Kwanza hii kitu inaitwa yes,
tunapaswa kuseparate vitu za kuchezea na vitu za kutochezea. Siasa kama ni game, hata wale wana supporting Man U na Arsenal mfanyange 24 hours. Kuna wakati wa game mnaenda kwa pitch, you support your team, and after the game you still go home, wash utensils. Huwezi kupretend ilikuwa kwa game, sasa vyombo zitajiosha na chakula itajipika. There are things that you should play with, others you should not play with. So this is politicizing everything and playing politics with everything. It's not right, it's wrong.
Atutendo wambie bibi yako hizi vyombo ni chafu kwa sababu ilikuwa politics. Ilikuwa politics nikikwambia nilikuwa naosha.
Nyama iliungua lakini ni siasa tu.
Hiyo ni siasa bwana, hiyo achana nayo. Karibu uchome nyumba lakini siasa. Bernard, let me tell you, Bernard and Mr. Lala, the moment Kenyan, not even Kenya, most of Africa, some of them wamejipata, lakini and it's moving at a very slow rate. The moment that people, even the countries that we kind of emulate ourselves to, like when we talk about the US, the Europe, these are the countries that we've never even gotten close. Every time we can't even, I mean, no matter what we do, we try everything that we can do to get close to them, but we never get close to them. The Camagos, I mean, can you imagine Venezuela coming to help us with our elections? You know, the reason is because we are always just playing games, and these games are the games that we can talk something over and over and over again in the name of politics, what Bernard is talking about. And you can excuse anything in the name of politics. Instead of really just doing what needs to be done. The moment you do what needs to be done, there's no more politics. And politics is what? Politics should be lobbying of, I think I can do better than this guy that did better than that. You see? And sometimes I hate the dictatorship, like of the Japan and, you know, those guys. The Korea. I hate that dictatorship in some time, but also sometimes I kind of feel like maybe this guy is, maybe at some point we might need that. Sometimes I hate Kagame, but I feel maybe we also need something like that, but not with Ruto. Please, no. But what I'm trying to say is that we can't have a name called politics and then also have Christianity or religion in whole, and also have our own ethics of living, but then excuse this politics, that politics is anything that you can say whatever you want to say, anything, but you are excused by the community and whatever you want to say. I mean, Missy Bernard, nyinyi ni wachungaji, nyinyi wote wawili. Mimi sidhani venye naweza kuwa politician sasa nikuje niseme, unaona huyu Lala ndio alikuwa anaua watu 1963. Yet Lala was not even born in 1963. But because it's politics, it's supposed to be taken as, I mean, just it's politics. I mean, yes, we are supposed to kushangilia ikuwe ukweli. So I think that is what has really eaten us in our country, and not even in our country, in the social political fabric of Africa. I don't know what you guys think, Bernard. Nyinyi nimebaki na wachungaji hapa, najua mtaniombea.
Na kabla tuanze kukuombea, wacha tukueleweshe. Even in the church world, there are things that are sacred, considered to be sacred. There is what is called doctrinal tenets of faith, that if you touch them or you disbelieve them, you are declared an outsider. You can't be a proper Christian. So what went wrong with our politics is when we mixed everything and put them on the same level. And that's where we went wrong, that now anybody can become a leader. There is no society that works like that. There's no family that works like that. But in Kenya, anybody can become a leader as long as you can buy your way into office, which is unconstitutional. 1, 2, it's unethical. 3, it can't even fit into the African traditional setting where they were using primitive means of determining leaders. Everybody needed to be put on the scale before they are given leadership. In the olden days of our African traditional setting, hata kuoa haikukuwa kitu ya I'm in love. You needed to prove that you are a man. 1, uende kwa mtoni. Kwetu unaenda kwa mtoni, ukate nyasi, ukate mbao, ukuje ujenge simba. To prove you are now a man, you needed to prove yourself before you are entrusted by somebody's girl. And so this aspect of Kinasudi and every other person are now calling shots in a country where we pride ourselves into exporting professors and lecturers, people that are running universities and institutions of high learning around the world. We pride ourselves in the same. And now the people calling shots in our country, it is Sudi, it is this people who went up to class 4. So how does that now happen? That people leading education in Botswana are Kenyans. People lecturing in Zimbabwe are Kenyans. People leading serious, even tourist, wherever, hospitality sector, South Africa and the other parts, majority of them are Kenyans. And they are doing superb work. They are leading by higher standards. But back home, the people sitting in the cabinet, people advising president, people making a decision on behalf of the country are standard 4 dropouts. That's a slap in our face. And it's all a slap in our face because when it came to leadership, we said anybody can become a leader. That should not be repeated. And so approaching it the Lala way, which I advise it should take place. In fact, I don't think this country is ready for another election. We need to have a conference as a country. We need to conference with ourselves and tell ourselves the truth that there is nobody competing for leadership in this country that is going to lead this country rightly without us having a conversation that is going to lead to some declarations that are going to be monumental. Declarations that are going to be monumental, whereby how do we settle on who becomes a leader, who runs for presidents, who runs for governor? Those questions have not been asked. The 2010 Constitution gave us chapter 6, but that chapter 6 was killed on arrival as soon as it came. So we must, as a people, agree. And that's why I think at times I feel like we need a transitional government that's going to lead us to credible elections that are going to bring us into now getting leaders who are not leaders who are domineering, but leaders who are oblivious or leaders who are obligated to hear and follow the Constitution. And if they don't, there is a way out. The issue of that I was sworn in for 5 years should not arise. The moment you make one blunder, then another blunder, we get rid of you.
Bernard.
Yes.
My big brother, do you know, this is building castles in the air, but let's just build them because they've always built castles in the air for us, right? Let me just build a castle in the air. I wish Kenyans would say there's no salary for anyone in just for one term. No salary for anyone, no income. Whatever you have is yours. You do public service. I wish Kenyans, like I said, is building castles in the air. No salary, no nothing. You came to be a public servant, right? You're not going to get anything. Just give service.
Mato
Bernard
mtoto wetu,
watakimbia wote, hautapata hata mmoja.
nakwambia hawa watu hawako bunge kwa sababu ya mshahara, wako bunge kwa sababu ya deals. The connections to corruption is the reason why they pay any amount to get in parliament, because being in parliament places you in a good place where you can cut deals like Gachagua, an MP of inaitwa Madira, supplying wheelbarrows for 109,000 Kenya shillings to Lusaka, who is his friend. Lusaka releases the check. Who cares about the 700,000?
Nilisikia mwingine ametoka huko, nilisikia mwingine anaishi nini wa huko coast, ati amepewa kandarasi ya nini ya hapa Rongai. How do you become an MP of huko coast Taita Taveta and then you're getting a contract in Ongata Rongai? And actually you're not even you're not an architect, you're not a civil person. I mean, this is nonsense. Paul Bernard.
Exactly. Now that is where the problem is. So these people, even if you deny them salary, and there will be those deals, watakusanyika hapo. So ndio nasema turudi kwa drawing board, tuweke ABCD ya kuwa kiongozi Kenya, na tufanye ikuwe ngumu kuwa kiongozi, kufanyika kiongozi, kwa sababu ukifanyika kiongozi inakuwa rahisi. Kama prime minister wa nini UK wametoa ngapi? 4 in less than a year. Okay, because it is hard to be prime minister when you are not delivering, and when you're not delivering you are shown the door. How many people have we shown the door in this country? Hata wale tunafuta nasema I would rather die than resign. And after they resign, we bring them back again. We recycle them. So as a country, we have compromised on standards and it's affecting us. And that's something that we must have a conversation around. And then, of course, now this lawlessness that is being introduced through the back door needs to be stopped. Ruto is unconstitutional. He wants to operate outside the constitutional, and that needs to be used against him for his own impeachment. All the motions he has taken to parliament and passed have been found unconstitutional. All decisions he has ever taken for this country have been found unconstitutional. What is he still doing in the office? Learning the constitution? So as Kenyans, tuanze kuambiana ukweli. Hapa tuko na mtu ambaye hapendi katiba, hataki kufuata katiba, lakini anapenda kuwa rais wa nchi ambayo haitumii katiba, nchi ambayo yeye ndio ufikiria na anayofikiria yeye ndio anatekeleza. There's another video I ran into somebody explaining on how SHA, okay, Shisha, has been set in such a way that governors are supposed to sign that they are renting machines, and the insurance, SHA, pays for those machines. I mean, all that is needed is the governors to sign. The governors don't know who are the suppliers of those machines, who are being paid through that insurance scheme, and then wao ni kubaki tu na ile change. So there is machine that they hire it for almost, is it what they was talking about, something like 9 million, something, what figure did he use? Okay, something like 11 million, okay? and then the machine is hired for that 11 million, and then the SHA coverage, ile ya insurance, it covers up to around 12.5. Unaona? So wakishalipa machine, mtu anaenda na 11 million, wewe unabaki na 1.2. Sasa hii 1.2 ndio utatumia Quran machine ama Quran kulipa madaktari ama kulipa wauguzi. So there is something fishy about all the deals and all the schemes that have been introduced by William Ruto. Why? He's unconstitutional. He doesn't want to follow the law, and he wants to plunge this country into lawlessness. Grounds for his impeachment is gross violation of the Constitution, which he has already committed. And so ni sisi tukubali tutaongozwa kinyume na katiba ama tutakataa. Na tukikataa, ni wangapi wanakataa? Kwa sababu kuna wale ambao wanataka kusupport unconstitutional means, and unconstitutional means is going to plunge the country into what? Anarchy. Because hakuna Wakenya watakubali, hawatakubali kusukumwa. Watasukuma ndio, lakini hawatakubali kusukumwa milele. Naomba hivi, msimamo umerejea, naomba ukachangie tunapoanza kufungasha. Masaa yangu ndio hayo.
Asante sana ndugu yangu Bernard kwa nafasi hii. Naona mmegusa kule ambako nimezungumza. Yote leo nimezungumza hapo umeshaongea. Lakini swali langu wanajiuliza kama msimamo hapa peke yangu ni hivi. Wakenya tuko wangapi? Na hawa wanaotuyumbisha ni wangapi? Yaani watu kidogo hawajafika hata milioni, wala hawajafika, sidhani hata wamefika hata 100,000. Watu wanacheza na akili zetu kama utitiri. Na Wakenya tupo kwa sababu pamoja na security wao, ukiwapiga hesabu, kwa sababu ni watu kidogo wanatuimbisha tu Bernard hapa. Hawana haja na taifa, hawana haja na maendeleo ya taifa. Kile wako na haja nacho ni haya maneno nimezungumza, deals. Na it's true, si kwamba ni uongo. Na ndio maana wanaibadilisha political class iwe ni ya ngazi ya heshima yake. Kuna siku nilitoa mfano hapo nikasema kulisimamisha gari la mbunge inakuwa ngumu. Wewe na gari lako ufiki Mombasa, kama umetoka Lungalunga na Mombasa kutuliko, basi haufiki Mombasa, umesimamishwa zaidi ya mara 6. Lakini najiuliza gari la mbunge je, litasimamishwa? Kwanza security, unapita mzee wewe na ukijaribu kusongelea kwa barabara mwananchi utakiona cha mtema kuni, hadi mbunge apite ndo off. Sasa hizi heshima nyingi ambazo ziliweza zikawekwa katika political class katika Kenya hii zimetuharibia, kwa sababu yoyote ambaye anaamini akiingia kwa siasa, yeye mambo yake yashakuwa sasa ni super. Si hata anaingia kwa siasa kwa ajili ya kile kilio ambacho watu wake wamemsukuma nacho kuweza kuenda aidha bungeni ama kwenda kwenye nyadhifa yote ile ya uongozi. Lengo ni kwamba nikiingia tu kwa siasa basi. That's why unakuta watu wanaruka mirengo yao ya chama hiki anaingia chama kingine. Hapa ndo kuna mapungufu makubwa kimtazamo wangu, kwa sababu inamaanisha uendapo mrengo mwingine ambao hauja kuleta katika uongozi, ina maana umekiuka yale ambayo mwananchi mmekubaliana nayo hadi mkafungamana kwamba uende katika bunge uweze kusimamia pale, ama uende katika nyadhifa fulani uweze kusimamia pale. So Kenya tunasumbuliwa na watu kidogo wenye wanacheza na akili zetu kwa uoga. Wakenya sisi tukubali ni waoga tu. Na ni waoga na hatuna umoja. Ni waoga tena hatuna umoja kabisa. Hawa wanasema yao, wale nao wanazungumza yao, wale nao wananyeshana lawama hapo. Hawa wanasupport government kwa sababu nao pia tamaa ya pesa imemjaa Mkenya kupita kiasi. Kila Mkenya anataka awe milionea, kila Mkenya anataka asifike aonekane. Sasa hali kama hii ni vurugu. Yote haya ni kwa ajili ya hawa ambao wakikaa wanapanga jinsi gani ya kukaa katika power. So punde tutakuja amua kwamba sasa tumechokana hawa watu, wacha tuonyeshe mna, kwa sababu kama ni sheria haipo, sheria ni ya mimi Bernard na wewe hapo, lakini si ya viongozi. Wao wanaipindisha sheria wakati wowote ile. So hii katiba ni ya hii kama kigezo tu, ni kama vile vile tu Biblia unaweza litumia kuweza kujitilia mali na kuweza kuwahadaa watu, lakini vile vile unaweza liponyesha watu katika imani na mtu akapona. So hii katiba ndio hivyo. Kwa hiyo mimi Bernard, changu cha kufunga nitasema Wakenya si wenyewe ndio tunachelewesha sometimes ya maneno kama haya, kwa sababu hatuna ule umoja tu, hatujajaliwa na umoja, bado tuko katika dimbwi la sisi watu wa hapa. Lazima kwanza tusikike, sisi watu wa hapa tumekuwa hapa katika wakati wote, sasa ni wakati wa watu wengine kufanya hivi. Tunajipiana malawama ambayo yote haya yanasababishwa na hivi vibaraka hivi. Wabunge ambao ni waasi ndio wanakuja haraka kwa watu wao kuweza kuja kuwadaa. Sasa unakuta kuna makundi mawili, wale wanaongozwa na support mbunge kwa sababu wa shilingi 2-3 na wale ambao wanapinga. Tunabaki kuwa katika misingi hiyo. Sasa hivi kuna watu bado kimtajia Ruto unaweza gombana naye. I don't believe wapo, si kwamba ni wote tu. So
usisahau tuko na unafiki, tuko na ushabiki na tuko na kuna sabotage pia. So haya mambo yote yamechanganyika na hayaendi vizuri kwa sababu ya hiyo, lakini umoja wetu nikikurejesha hapo mwanzo, umoja wetu haswa kabla ya uhuru, okay? Mzee Jaramogi alitembea katika sehemu tofauti ya nchi akiwahamasisha watu katika umoja wetu ndio uhuru wetu utapatikana. Kaleta, kulikuwa na Kikuyu sijui Kavirondo Association, sijui Kikuyu Association, Mijikenda Association. Ikamwambia hizi vikundi zote tukiendelea na hivi kikundi kimoja moja, watu kama wametengana tutapata nini? Uhuru. Mpaka tukuje pamoja ndio tuseme nini? Tunataka uhuru chini ya uongozi fulani. So from the word go kupata independence ilikuwa mtu amechukua initiative ya kuleta nini? Makabila yote pamoja, Wakenya wote pamoja waongee kwa sauti moja wakidai haki yao. Walipoingia katika madaraka walifanya nini? Wakaona kama tunataka kuendelea kwa uongozi, msikubali hawa watu wakuje pamoja. Walikuja pamoja wakatupatia uongozi. Wakubali wakuje pamoja, watatutoa katika nini? Uongozi. So wakafanya nini? Wasabotage hiyo unity. Okay, so every time unaona mlima sijui unakubaliana sijui na Nyanza, Kerende ingine itainuka ya kusema hiyo haifai, then hii na hii na hii. So kuna vile ambavyo tunahitaji kuanza kwa kurasa mpya, na kurasa mpya inamaanisha sisi wenyewe kama Wakenya tusiache kuzungumza kwa sauti moja kwa sababu ya tofauti ya siasa. Tutofautishe taifa na vyama vya kisiasa na uongozi wa kisiasa. Kwa mfano, kile ambacho kimefanyika Kenya ni siasa yetu ilibadilishwa bila sisi kujua. Siasa yetu ilibadilishwa kutoka kwa siasa ya nidhamu, siasa ya watu waadilifu, watu waaminifu, ikafanywa siasa ya pesa. Anayeweza kununua anapata, asiyeweza kununua aendelee kulalamika. Ilibadilishwa quietly bila sisi kujua, na ilifanywa vizuri sana na Mzee Moi na kununua. So saa hii siasa ya Kenya, wewe unaweza kuwa ni mwaminifu, hela ya mtu ukuli, wewe ni mwaminifu, unataka kusimamia na kupigania taifa, lakini rules zimekuwa nini? Change. Ni kama vile umeenda kucheza football unapaswa kuscore na mguu, lakini wachezaji wote wamefungwa miguu. Sema njia moja tu ya kuscore ni utumie mkono, lakini usipatikane. Naomba tutamatishia hapo.
Bernard, wacha nipeane closing remark haraka.
And he's giving his response and then you come in,
Oh,
then
okay.
you close.
Okay, sure.
Yeah.
Beni hapo umemaliza mchezo hapo. Yaani goli unalifunga na mkono, ilirufa hajaona lihesabike. Hiyo inatokea. So mimi kwangu ni kusema hivi, nikimaliza kufunga my closing remarks, Wakenya bado nafasi tunayo kubwa tu. Wale wanatusikiza kwa kila siku, nadhani wanaelewa na wana feel kwamba hii Kenya ndio ya kuangalia, si uongozi kwa sasa hivi, nani si viongozi kwa sasa hivi. Na ili tuangalie Kenya ni jinsi gani tutakavyobadilisha uongozi ambao utaweza kuhesabu kila mtu bora, kila rika bora, utalesha nidhamu katika taifa. Na nidhamu ni kule kutii, watu watafuata sheria, watu wataogopa sheria, yani watafuata sheria ili taifa lisimame, haswa lihesabike. Kwa maana tunapoteza huu muda wa kuweza kufuja rasilimali zetu na kufanya kila kitu, lakini kumbuka haya ni sasa na maji yakimwagika hayazoleki tena. Pili, tunavyosumbuana hivi na kubadilisha hili taifa katika hali ya uongozi wa unafiki na uongo, ndio tunavyolimaliza, kwa sababu kumbuka vizazi navyo viko pale. Uzuri ni kwamba tu tunashukuru vijana wetu siku hizi na wamejanjaruka zaidi, si mbumbumbu kama wakati ule. Wakiona imezidi, wao watatoka na mahali at least pia wasikike. Hilo tunashukuru Mungu. Lakini pindi tutakapobadilisha uongozi, hii heshima sasa ya lazima ya port class lazima iputiliwe mbali. Wajione ni wafanyikazi kama vile walimu, wajione political class ni wafanyikazi kama vile madaktari. Na kwa kufanya hivi ni kuhakikisha wanaosimamia masuala mazima haswa na fedha ama masuala mazima na mishahara, hawa watu wamekatiwa mishahara na hakuna hazima wala sauzi nyingi, na pia wanafuatiliwa katika nyendo zao, yaani pale pesa imewekwa yakisha imefanya ile kazi husika. Lakini haya masuala ya kuwalumbikizia mishahara ni kisingizio tu, lakini ni deal. Watakuambia mimi ninamiliki mali fulani, ukitazama mali anayoimiliki ni nyingi mno. So for real, mimi ninamalizia kwa kusema umoja ni nguvu jamani. Kenya hii hatutaibadilisha tukiwa hali hii ambayo tuko nayo, kwamba watu wakose, sisi lazima tusikike. This time ni wakati wetu wa kuwa ndani ya serikali. Watu wa mlima wache wapambane hali yao, kwa sababu wao ndio wameanzilisha haya mambo. Ushaona watu wa Nyanza nao wamekufa wengi kuweza kupigania mageuzi, wacheni wapumzike, maandamano hawaendi. So for real, vitu kama hivi mimi kimtazamo wangu vitaturegesha nyuma kutimiza hili letu, kuweza kupigana na hawa wachache watusumbao ambao sasa hivi tumewakusanya wako pamoja. Maana yoyote anayesifu hii serikali, mimi nitasema siku zote kwamba si mpenzi wetu, si kipenzi cha Wakenya. Yeye atatulazimisha, lazima tufuate mkumbo ambao utakuwa si mkumbo ambao una usawa. So nitaachia pale tukisema kwamba wenye kulitengeneza taifa ni sisi na wenye kuharibu taifa ni sisi wa Kenya. Tukikubali tutalibadilisha. Tukisema sasa tunaenda kata tulivyo, basi tutachukua muda mrefu kuweza kulibadilisha, ambapo hili jambo ni rahisi tu. Huyu bwana amefanya mengi, amekiuka katiba, na kama ni kuimpeach, wacha impeach. Imeshindikana, wacha twendeni, watakufa kidogo, wengi watabaki, lakini tulikombea taifa. Asante.
Sawa, asante sana. Msimamo, tutaendelea na hiyo mada hiyo kesho. Kwa hivyo tegea papo hapo, endelea kusubscribe kama hujasubscribe. Tafadhali make sure that after you subscribe you help somebody to subscribe so that we are growing together, learning together, and becoming better. Kenyan would love.
Kufa makanga, kufa nani?
Kufa dereva.
Dereva anakataa kukufa, amekimbia na ile anakataa kabisa, anaenda anajaribu, anaokota. Unajua Uhuru alituambia huyu jamaa na dereva ataanza kutoa nini, taili, anatoa chassis.
Shida mlisema kufa dereva, kufa makanga.
No,
Kusema
tusema kufa makanga
dereva, au kusema huwa dereva huwa makanga. Unaona sasa hapo.
It's okay, bado yeye pia tutampata. Bernard, as my closing remark, I was watching something today and it was really, it caught my eye. It was Daybreak. I don't remember the fourth person, but ni mtu ya Ruto kabisa. But and really I don't care, because you know what watu wa Ruto, the way they talk. And normally nowadays I don't watch mainstream medias, but that was Daybreak. And it was Senator Onyonka, Harvey, and then there was another ODM senator there. I think he was a senator of Migori. That other senator, because me, honestly, I don't care about Watu wa Ruto, because I mean, you can never even comprehend what they are talking. These guys just talk. I mean, just as long as they're on, I mean, whatever they are, you already know what is going to come out of their mouth. Really, I just don't. What was so confusing about me was when I saw Onyonka and Harvey. Yes, Harvey is working for the government. I think ako kwa board fulani, but Harvey and Onyonka were on the same side, and then you could see this Migori guy also trying to be on the same side, but also trying to distance himself because he's also on the Ruto's side. Now this other guy, huyu wa katikati, huyo hata sitaki kujua story yake. I don't, kama kuna mtu kwa comment section anajua nani naongelea atatuambia. I can't remember him. But what did I see on that? Sociology 101. The guy was just, this senator of Migori and this other guy. Anyway, let me just talk about the Migori one. Can see the points that are problematic, but just because he wants to stand on one side, then unaona kuna shida yenye anaisema ni ukweli, anaona kuna shida, anakubaliana na kitu kinaonyonka wanasema, lakini hataki kuisema. And I'm not attacking the Migori or whatever. I'm just saying, yes, Koech. Thank you, Japheth. Amesema ni Koech. Yeah, that Koech, me, the Koech guy, that guy, yani mi akiongea nilikuwa nataka kuzima tu, lakini I had to listen. I mean, I had to just take one for the team because he had nothing to say, you know. So, but when you look at that, you kind of look at Bernard. Have we gone to a point in our countrymen? We've become to where we cannot think for ourselves. These guys just have to say something, and they want us to follow that. And then they say we. And that discussion, Bernard, brought me to a point, nikajiuliza, who is we actually when you're talking about we? Is it we that are in the government? When we say we as a country have to move like this, and this other country doesn't want to move like that, but we as a country have to move like this. Are we talking about the political, class? We have to move like this, but these other people don't want to move like this. Sijui kama na make sense, because I feel it's kind of like wakisema we, they are not talking about the citizenry. They are talking about a cult. A cult. And I saw somebody yesterday hata kwa Spice akiuliza hii cult inakuwaga nini, that when you get in there you change. I'll give a good example, wakitaka wanipate. Muhammad Ali, jicho pevu. Look at them. Nani umeona akiingia huko hivyo? Yani hata sasa nikisikianga mtu anataka kuingia politics, Bernard naogopa. Mimi nikisikia unaingia politics, Bernard nitaanza kukuangalilia 18. Ati unataka naenda kugeuzia huko ndani. I think kuna kakitu wana hiyo pilau yenye jenzi walikula. I think hata wenye walikula maybe sijui kule wako maybe hata pia wamegeuka. Kuna kakalt hiyo chakula yao huko ndani. I don't know what happens, Bernard. But Bernard, I'm really happy about this time that imefanyika this time, because watu pia wako so educated, people have come of age, and people are starting to really, they're becoming awoke. I'm happy at this time. It's happening at this time when there's even medias like yours right here, where watu at least people can speak, even that is on my ex, whatever. Yani, it's so hard to play around, and I think it's gonna get even harder. Like my mentor Otieno Kajwang used to say, the kitchen is gonna get hotter. Bado itaendelea kwa ngumu. Mi nasema tu, it has come to a point that tutoe, yani tutoe hii kitu yote na and Bernard, kuna point nilikuwa nimeleta hapo hivyo as I close, ya mshahara, and you said hata tukitoa mshahara si story na mshahara, and I agree with you, ni story na deals. Lakini basi kama utaenda kumake deal, ingia hapo bila mshahara, wende ukamake deal zako huko, cause utaomba mwenzako. Na Bernard, unajua deni, kuomba deni ni rahisi, kulipa ni matanga. Mwende mkosanie huko bila hiyo mshahara, mkosanie huko, mwende mchapanie huko nyinyi wote, tutoe mshahara basi, endeni mfanye deal, either mshahara ama deals. And I wish, Bernard, we can start as we go into this 2025, we can say hakuna mshahara, cause mnapatanga deals, endeni mkafanye deals. You find someone like Peter Salasia who came in with nothing. Sisi anakimbia kila mali, akona kila kitu because akona mshahara na akona deals. Toa moja basi, be a public servant. Tutoe mshahara. We ukiingia pale hivyo umeenda kupa public service, umepatana na mkubwa wako already alisha make chapa yake, muombe loan, ufanye hizo deal zako, ndio muende mkosane, mkauane nyinyi wenyewe, muache kutuua sisi. Bas, nimefunga.
Exactly. Thank you, Mato. We appreciate that. And then, of course, unajua right now deals are not regulated. Time ya Kibaki zilikuwa regulated. Kulikuwa na percentage ya watu walemavu, kuna percentage ya wamama, percentage ya vijana. And like road constructions, nini, pesa zilikuwa zinasambaza, zinafikia kila mtu. Saa hii hakuna pesa inafikia mtu. Pesa zote, dili yote imefungwa, imewekwa kwa mfuko ya mtu mmoja. And that is it's not healthy for the economy. Everything is wrong. So we must just change. Hiyo anaitwa Ndegwa, na ilikuwa Ndegwa Commission, ile ilileta kwamba public servants can do business with government in 1975. That thing needs to be thrown out of the constitution. If you are a civil servant, you cannot and you should not do business with the government. Simple and pure. If you want to do business with government, resign from government, go and start private practice. When you're doing private practice, then you can do business with government. Hauwezi kuwa wewe ndio minister, wewe ndio contractor, wewe ndio procurement officer. How is that now? And then you tell us we are running a country? So there are no checks and balances. Everything goes and everyone steals. No, that to be changed, we need to get back to the control of the country by getting the control of who is who. Treasury itolewe State House. Treasury cannot be part of executive. The 2010 constitution is against it. so that Ruto akitaka fare anaomba aandikwe petty cash kutoka kwa treasury which is independent. Lakini Ruto is in charge of treasury as who? Does he even understand wherever accounting? Or forget about finance, accounting, simple petty cash to run an economy of 55 million people. So how does he all of a sudden become now the president of our finances to an extent whereby he's making day-to-day decisions on the running of the affair of the country in the financial manenos? So haya mambo yote yameharibika. Kwa nini? Kwa sababu ya tabia yetu mbaya ya kuharibu vitu vizuri, tukitetea watu wajinga na watu wabaya ambao kazi yao ni kuharibu nchi. So as Kenyans, let's read widely. Let us make noise. Let's make noise. Don't stop making noise in whatever space you find yourself. Andika kama ni SMS, tengeneza poster, write out. Let it be known that is no business as usual. That Kasongo and team are not running this country rightly and they should be stopped. Don't forget the issue of abductions. They must be stopped and Kenyans will stop them. So hakikisha kwamba kelele haikomi mpaka Zakayo na wenzake watimuliwe kabisa kabisa ili tupate nini? Uhuru wetu kama Wakenya. On this note, we call it a day. Thank you so much for being part of the conversation. We will leave you with this video of Martha Karua and the Besigye case in Uganda.
The General Court Martial has rejected Senior Counsel Martha Karua and over 30 other lawyers from representing Dr. Kizza Besigye, as well as Abid Lutale Kamulegea, citing the absence of written instructions. The group of 32 defense lawyers has refused to continue their proceedings without their colleague Aaron Kizza, who was abruptly sentenced to 9 months in prison for contempt of court. Martha Karua protested the sentencing of Besigye's lawyer, decrying the mistreatment of lawyers.
From Kenya, we have lawyers from Tanzania, we have lawyers from Zambia, they are joining us.
Drama unfolded at Uganda's military court when the General Court Martial rejected Kenyan lawyer Martha Karua and over 30 other lawyers from representing opposition leader Dr. Kizza Besigye and Abid Lutale for lacking written instructions from Besigye. A tense standoff erupted as Karua and her team refused to proceed without their colleague Aaron Kizza, who had been swiftly arrested moments after the proceedings began and sentenced to 9 months in prison for contempt of court. The prosecution, led by Colonel Raphael Mugisha, insisted that only lawyers from AF Mpanga advocates Frederick Mpanga, Apollo Katumba, and Ernest Kalibala had formal instructions to represent the accused. Despite an intervention by Besigye from the dock saying that Karua and the others had his full instructions, the prayers were ignored by the court.
We respectfully urge you to grant us audience, which we already have, so that we are able to proceed. The word of mouth before the court from these two gentlemen is better than any written paper. If they say all these are their lawyers, that is it. Yes.
Karua, fresh off receiving a practicing certificate in Uganda Tuesday morning, condemned the treatment of lawyers, especially the recent arrest during the proceedings. She demanded the court proceed without additional paperwork, promising to submit the required documents later, but she was denied. After the standoff, the legal team led by Karua and Kampala Mayor Erias Lukwago remained firm they would not continue without Kizza, who had critical submissions to make.
Of one of the team members. When we come before you, we feel protected by you. But today, that has been violated by the orders. If anyone commits a perceived offense, we expect them to be restrained, not assaulted.
Earlier proceedings had turned chaotic as Kizza was manhandled and arrested while attempting to take a seat reserved for lawyers ahead of the delayed session. Prominent Ugandan opposition figure Kizza Besigye appeared before a military court in the capital Kampala in November 2024. where he denied charges that include the illegal possession of firearms and negotiating to buy arms abroad. Besigye was kidnapped in Kenya and sent back home, where he is being held in a military jail. Besigye and Lutale will return to court on January 13th for further mention. Melita Oletenges, Citizen TV.
Ladies and gentlemen, that brings us to the close of our broadcast today. Please, let's keep subscribing and, of course, keeping more people to follow our channel. Tukutane tutakapokutana.
Tunaingia vijijini, mijini na hata jijini kukuletea taarifa mchana kutwa. Usiku tunaketi kitako, tunadadavua tukichanganua taarifa na makala muhimu yanayokuhusu wewe na familia yako. Ungana na Bernard Ngozi kwenye Open Forum Political Show kuanzia saa 4 usiku hadi dakika zake kila siku ya wiki kwenye
Are you looking for video live streaming services? You want your church services to be on air? You do not know where to market your goods and services? At Sound Candy Talk, we deliver the best live stream services for your events, product and service launches, conferences, weddings, and lives. Reach on us today.